G'day everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Joey Wiggle Experience. And boy, oh boy, do we have a special guest for you today. Before we introduce him, I'd like to welcome my co-host as usual, Darby Travis. Welcome back, Darby.
Hello, Joey. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am getting very excited for today's episode, my friend.
Yeah, same here, because our guest today, many of you will know him, and I know a lot of our listeners are going to be very excited to have him on the podcast today. He is best known, obviously, in the Wiggles community as one of the founding members of the group back in 1991. And since then, he has gone on to have a successful career as a classical musician. So please welcome to the podcast, the one and only Mr. Phillip Wilcher. Welcome to the podcast, Phillip.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Darby. You're kind of making me giggle, which rhymes with wiggle, but that's okay.
Giggle wiggle.
No, like the whole one and only thing. It's like really, But no, thank you. That's that's very kind.
It's lovely to see you, Philip, and I haven't spoken to you for a while, so it's great we get to catch up. And in this podcast form, we've never done a podcast with you. Well, I certainly, I don't know about Joey, but haven't done a podcast with you before, so very
No.
excited for today's episode.
When was the last time I saw you, Darby? Like here in Sydney, that was the KFC day. I know that was when we went to the Dame Edith Walker estate, wasn't it?
Yes, to view the Wiggles movie filming locations. For those tuning in, Philip and I go way back. We've been friends for years, and we have had the great opportunity, the pleasure to meet each other in person. And yeah, we had some KFC and went for a bit of a studio tour around.
It was a zinger of a day, I think.
The Mrs. Dingle's house. It was.
Yeah. Oh,
I was in Sydney. I remember being in Sydney too. I went there twice. And I've got to tell you, it is so nostalgic being around that location too. The location, the trees, the school itself. Although, if I'm traveling to Sydney, I'm not only just going to go to Mrs. Bingle's school.
It's just down the road from where I live. You know that, Joey?
Yeah. I think Darby told me that. Yeah, it's crazy.
And if you saw the hospital across the way from that area, that's where I work now. Yeah,
that's crazy. Well, firstly, it's great to have you on, Philip. I mean, the first time I'm going to be honest. Like the first time I heard your, I think, voice outside of the Wiggles was when you first appeared on the Jake's Happy Nostalgia show, and I thought that was crazy because it's like I'd never because I thought it was hard to get in contact with you, and then to hear you speak, and then hear you talk about your time in the Wiggles, it was crazy because it was like that was probably for me the first time I've ever heard you outside of the Wiggles. And
I think Jake got excited about that because I'd mentioned to him it was the first time in 30 years I'd actually spoken on I'd actually done an interview and people could hear my voice. But no, I love Jake and I love Chris and I haven't been in touch with Jake for some weeks, but fantastic people. And I think I was episode 8. I think, and it's just been a wonderful experience to watch their show and their channel, take on the way it has. I mean, they've interviewed some incredible people, and they're enjoying some success with that, and I'm really happy for them. They're really wonderful people.
Yeah, they've had some great guests, and whilst I love the show, the only thing that I've got to say about it is that while they've interviewed a lot of great people who worked on our childhood memories, most of the guests are obviously from shows that happen in America. Although to be fair, they managed to get people who worked on Sesame Street, which is a big win. Yeah. But I feel like the Australian entertainment industry can be undervalued at times, especially for like us people who grew up in the 90s and 2000s, and that's why I felt like it was the right thing to do, to try and reconnect our audiences with the people who music we grew up with and the works and shows we grew up with. And I think this is honestly the best place to start, because I think a lot of people would remember you, Philip, from the debut album. And I think it's very important to have you on the show. I think it's important to let anyone on this show to talk about their time, what they've been doing since then, because sometimes it can be hard to it's not that it's hard, but I think most people would tend to forget about it. And I think there's always going to be that small community, that niche community, the Wiggles community in particular, that will always try to dig deep and try and find information on these certain individuals. And I think because of that, we've now been reintroduced to you and your career and what you've been up to. And I think it's really amazing that there is a certain community that have, acknowledged that, basically acknowledged that you've existed before.
Yeah. I mean, I'd forgotten about it myself until the 30th. Well, yeah, I had until the 30th anniversary thing popped along, and I wasn't even aware of that 30 years had passed. And I started getting all these messages at Instagram from people, like Wiggles fans and everything. Really, really kind messages, really lovely things that people were saying to me, and I had no idea why I was sort of, getting so many of them. And it was actually my neighbor next door who told me that it was the 30th anniversary year of the Dabo album. So then the penny dropped, and I realized that's what it was all about. So, and since then, I've formed some really amazing friendships with people such as yourself, Darby and Jake and everybody. And it's really been heartwarming to be welcomed into that community, which I really was not a part of, because after 1992, I really didn't follow much of the Wiggles at all. I didn't follow any of it.
Yeah. And when you think about the Wiggles, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously the awesome foursome, the original four. But what people don't know, what a lot of people don't know is in 1991, in the Wiggles' very early days, in their beginnings, there was originally 5 of you.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, when I think about the Wiggles, I'm going to say I probably twitch a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's I kind of like. I actually enjoy the mystery of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about your time with the group and your departure a little bit later on in the podcast. But yeah, no, it's we've got a lot to talk about today.
Okay,
a lot to talk about. So
like
we'll go back to
67 years of my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
A long list, exactly. So going back to the very beginning, Philip, so you have been, because we watch you now and you're a very classical performer and you've been inspired by the greats like Liberace. And I guess my question is, when you were growing up, what was it that drew you to classical music? What was the inspiration, and when did you first become introduced to it, and when did you decide that this is what you wanted to do with your life?
I have no real idea what drew me towards it. I had attended, I think I was about maybe 7 years of age. I'd attended a local awards night for a swimming carnival here where I live. And I remember at that awards night there were 2 ladies playing. There were 2 pianos in the hall and either side, and there were 2 ladies playing like both pianos at the same time. And I was fascinated by it, and my dad could see that I was really fascinated by what they were doing. And, much to my mother's horror, I think at the time my father went out and bought an upright piano for me without even knowing if I would take to it. And I did. I just took to it. And I always sort of had a feeling somewhere, and I don't know why, I really don't know why, that I wanted to write music. And I remember being like, maybe 11 or 12, sprawled out on the lounge room floor with lots of manuscript paper in front of me, and I'd be designing covers for pieces of music that I'd hope I would write one day. And I'd even put publishers' names on the covers, thinking I was a famous composer. Had no idea how to write music, not at all. But I eventually started to, and I was mentored by a very reputable and famous composer here in Australia. And way led on to way. I may as well say that music chose me. It's the only thing I know how to do. I mean, I don't know how to put air in a tire. I don't know how to do basic things, but I can write 5-part harmony and do things like that. But get me to do something normal, and it's just not going to happen. yeah, I think perhaps I needed another way of expressing myself other than words, because perhaps words weren't enough. But then I've had a turnaround with that more recently, because I tend to rely on words quite a lot, because I like to think that I write music with words now as well. So, but maybe it's a calling. That's a corny thing to say. I think people say they've had a calling, but I don't really know how I became so immersed in music. I don't look on myself as a musician. I look at other musicians and other composers are doing the same thing as me, and I'm in awe of them, thinking, my gosh, how do they do that? And then I've got to pinch myself to think, hang on a bit, I do that too. I really don't, and I shy away from telling people that I'm a composer or that I'm a musician. I might, at best, I will say, oh, I work in music. And then if someone wants to know any more, then I'll elaborate further. I've got friends, for example, who just don't know my last name, because there's never been a reason to. They don't know that I've been involved with the Wiggles as such, So it's kind of, I like that, though. I like, I don't wear anything I do on my sleeve, I'm not, I don't seek that sort of validation. And like when I put a piece of my music up on YouTube or something like that, I'll run and hide for about 3 weeks afterwards, because I'm too petrified to see what people say about it, because I feel like I'm sitting for an exam or something. But I don't know. I've never felt comfortable saying that I was a musician even.
Well, it's interesting you say that music chose you, because typically it can be like, most of us feel inspired by like role models, like our parents or our siblings. Because for me, that was kind of how I was introduced to musical, because I trained in musical theater, so that's how I was introduced to training in that field. It was through my family. But it's interesting how you say that, because it's not often you hear about. Would you consider yourself a self-taught musician, or would you?
No, not at all. And in fact, I've worked very hard to do what I do, and I'm I can say to you in all honesty that none of it has ever come easy. And I still feel that to this day. I know my worth. I'm very well aware of what I can do when I set my mind to it. But like for example, some years ago, a pianist here in Sydney, he was at a concert that I was at, and he approached. He knew me fairly well, and he knew that I wrote music. See, I can't even say that I'm a composer. He knew that I wrote music, and he's a very fine pianist. His name's John Martin, and he came up to me and he said that he was recording an album of blues music, jazz and blues music, and would I write him a piece of blues? And I straight away looked at him and said no, because I'd never written blues before. And even if it was a classical piece that he wanted, I probably would have shied away and said no, I'll think about it, because I'm never sure I can do something until I start doing it. And I didn't give him an answer, and but that night when I got home, I straight away started writing the blues piece for him, and it turned out to be one of my most successful pieces. It ended up in the exam syllabus. But I'll never say I can do anything until I've done it.
I'd love to take you back to the very early days on in your career. Do you maybe remember the first couple of performances that you did? Do you have any recollection of the first, real time you got the opportunity to head out on stage and perform in front of an audience?
Are you talking like Wiggles or just generally me as a?
Just generally you, like, before the Wiggles.
Well, like as a student, with the various teachers I had, they always put on what they called play days or play evenings, where students would get together and like just in their home even, or sometimes in a small hall, and we'd get up and we'd play. There was always that. I was never. I don't think it was my goal to be a performer in that sense. I always wanted to be a composer, and everything stemmed from that. Which is really weird again to say that, because I can't actually think of myself as being a composer yet. That's what I've done. When I did though, I think when I seriously started to perform was when and it was around the time that the Wiggles had happened, and even before that, actually, 1988, 1989. I was doing club work here in Sydney, and I then went to the States from 1989 on and off through to 1994, I think it was, when I played for celebrations honoring Liberace in Las Vegas, which wasn't such a classical type of performance. It wasn't a showy thing either, but I performed there. And the club work that I did here, the audience were like 1,000 people or 1,100 people, and I felt quite comfortable doing that. And it was just solo piano work, and I really loved it. For years, I was pianist for Jeffrey Edelston, the Dr. Jeffrey Edelston in his medical centers and things like that. I think mostly, though, my work as a practical musician, as a player, seems to be a type of therapy type thing for other people, which is like what I'm doing now, playing at the hospital for end-of-life patients. But yeah, performing, it's funny, if someone's standing right next to me, next to me at the piano when I'm playing, I tend to seize up a little bit because they're over me and they can see everything I do. But if I'm on stage, and I haven't been on a stage like since the early 1990s playing the piano, and there's a massive audience, I'm fine because I'm up on stage, they're nowhere near me, and I can play and feel quite free doing that. But if someone's standing over me while I'm playing, then I tend to shy away a little bit and things seize up. But I don't think I'm a performer. No, not really.
It's an interesting way to put it, Philip. It's yeah, and I think and I can kind of understand where you're coming from too. I think some people some people just like to, especially if you see it as would you consider you being because I know I was about to say musician, but I know you don't like to consider yourself. I was about to say that, but I was going to say, would you consider what you do as like a hobby that turned into a career, or
no? I don't know.
Because some people like to do it as a hobby, but then some people really enjoy it, and I feel like would you say that you really enjoy it to the point where like that's just how you want to just live your life?
I couldn't have survived without it.
Yeah.
And I think if it wasn't for my creativity, and not just in music, but in writing words and everything else, I probably wouldn't be here today. It's been my strength and my stay. It's helped me survive illnesses and things throughout my life. I've had some dramatic things happen to me. And it's been my creativity and music that has healed me. And I think in my work, particularly now at the hospital, even though I'm playing for end-of-life patients, patients who have only got even a couple of days left to live, I'm thinking of, I'm trying to heal them through what I do at the piano. And that's very much a conscious effort. Like when I play for them, I'm praying for them as well. And music for me has always been my prayer. It's been my way of honoring God, because I don't think I could do it without God, without a belief in Christ, because that's creativity. That's creativity at the source. But I couldn't be anything else either. Like I will look at people, say accountants or real estate agents or anyone who's established in any other type of a career, and I wonder if that is actually them or something that they've done because they've had to do to make a living. I wouldn't. I don't know how I've survived. I've always had a job in music. I've never done anything else but music, either playing, writing music, or in some sort of administrative capacity. But it's always been music. And if I had to do something else, I would fold. So I've been blessed in that way, in that my entire life has been dedicated to what I believe I was meant to do. And if I can inspire other people to do that, even like you in Musical Theatre or Darby in the many things that Darby does, and if you can just inspire people to be true to themselves and to give of that truth to others, that's really something. But I don't, but put me in any other sort of field of work and I'd fail dismally. I'd probably fail if I had to sit for a music exam tomorrow. I would, because I think you grow away from all of that. You grow away from the fundamentals that you learn as a child, because that's just a foundation that you build on. And the more you build on it, you can build away from it. And when you get your own identity through your creativity, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to, pass the theory exam tomorrow, which I know I wouldn't do. If you put me for a third grade theory exam in music tomorrow, I'd probably fail. And I think I'd be proud of that. I think that would be good.
Yeah. You mentioned before, Philip, briefly about Liberace. Now, I understand you have a pretty pretty big history with Liberace and the Liberace Foundation.
Yeah. Happiest time of my life. I could get teary recounting this. See, like as a child, I'm more steeped in classical music than I am in the showmanship side of things that Liberace involved himself with. That said, before he became the showman that he was a fine classical musician, But as a child, like when I was just starting to learn the piano, he'd appear on television every morning at 11 o'clock, and he'd be playing. And for me, he became an idol or a god. I'm thinking, my God, I want to play like that. And aside from that, he just came across as being such a kind man. And again, I wasn't at that stage. I wasn't involved in really serious classical music. And when he toured here in 1971, my mother took me to hear him play at the Capitol Theatre here in Sydney. And it was just an extraordinary experience. Like, people were mesmerized in the audience. There were women walking to the foot of the stage and just standing there staring at him, as he performed. And I had this really odd feeling, and a very real feeling, during his concert. And I was only, 1971, I was, 13 or something. I was watching him perform, and I had this overwhelming feeling that somewhere along the line, our paths were going to meet or cross. That in some way, I was going to become more involved with him. And he, back in those days, he was a really legendary figure. When he arrived here in when he arrived here in 1971, there were like 40 reporters at the airport waiting for him, and he was huge. And then
I think there was sorry, I was going to say, and I think there was also a point where because at that same time there was the variety show Young Talent Time, and he even booked Jamie Redfern to perform with him, tour with him. It's crazy.
That's right. Yeah. Darby started singing.
And speaking of Jamie Redfern, exactly. When I was much younger, Jamie Redfern has I'm not too sure anymore, but he used to have a singing studio, and I was one of his singing students, and I would attend singing lessons with the one and only Jamie Redfern. So when Philip and I sort of got to know each other these last couple of years, we've shared stories like that, and how we both know, Jim Redfern. Great fella, good bloke.
He is, and
it's quite an achievement too when you think about it. Like, being able to tour and perform with the one and only Liberace, that's crazy.
But you know what? Like, hang on. I'll go back to my 1971 story. So I joined the fan club.
Oh yeah,
International fan club, which cost $1 in those days. And I received bulletins every 6 months and Christmas cards from Liberace and whatever. And for a kid my age, it was like, wow. Then he came again in 1973 to perform. And we had front row seats at the Horden Pavilion, and it was that concert that Jamie was in that concert tour with Liberace. And I have to say, for his age, like the Young Talent Time Jamie Redfern that sang "The Little White Cloud That Cried," and what was that other song he was famous for?
Little Boy. I'm your little boy.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's a beautiful
honestly
song.
his voice was extraordinary.
It is.
you know, people talk about Justin Bieber and all of that. You know, they couldn't hold a candle to Jamie Redfern.
Nah, and because even through the because I've listened, even when in the early records of Young Talent time, like his voice is so unique compared to everyone else. Like he just had such a unique
and such resonance, like, and so much power to it.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, like he was performing at the what is it called, the King of Pop Awards, here as a kid, and that's when Liberace had to present Johnny Farnham with his King of Pop Award, and it was at that ceremony that Liberace first heard Jamie, and then decided to, you know, and he made a comment like he'd like to take him back to the States with him, and everybody laughed, think he was joking, but you know, next minute Jamie's touring the States with Liberace, and America loved him. They really did, you know, and rightly so, because I don't think there would have been anyone around at that time who had the voice that Jamie had. For his age. And I think, you know, even today, you know, if he'd have been doing what he was doing at the time Justin Bieber was coming through, Justin Bieber wouldn't have. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like Jamie Redfern, when he was younger, he had, you know, a really, really good voice, and still to this day, he's still, you know, performing at functions, and he still can, you know, sing a tune, sing a song, along with his brother Derek, of course, Derek Redfern as well.
Yeah. But he's a really, I haven't had anything to do with Jamie for probably a couple of years, but he found, like, when we went to hear Liberace in 1973, and Jamie, you know, the concert that Jamie was in, as I mentioned, we had front row seats, and I snuck a cassette recorder in, and my mother wore it under her coat, so we recorded the entire concert, and I let Jamie know that I had it, and because he didn't have it, so I gave it to him as a gift, the recording. Which was just a cassette, you know. And I remember him contacting me to say that he was really happy to have it because he played it to his family and everything. But no, he's a fantastic person. He's a really good person. And he's still got the talent school, hasn't he? Is he still sort of helping people?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what, as I said before, I haven't spoken or seen or heard of Jim in many years now, but I would imagine he's still conducting singing lessons and, you know, performing at weddings and other bits and pieces as well. From memory, I think he also had a radio show on an online radio station. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was doing something along those lines.
Dennis Walter was going to tour with Liberace as well, but that never happened. I don't know.
Dennis Walter, and I know Dennis as well. He's one of my media mentors. I've had the privilege of course, he's a Geelong boy as well, so we live in the same area. He's a good fellow, Dennis.
And such a deep voice too. If you listen to him
especially
sing.
when it comes to Christmas carols by candlelight on Christmas Eve. Mr. Dennis Walter, the King of Christmas, is always, you know, on stage singing his little heart out. He's really good.
Yeah, you can actually, going back to Jamie, you can actually hear, I think there's a clip on YouTube of Jamie and Liberace doing Waltzing Matilda together.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of funny. Yeah, it's definitely that. I know it is. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. Well, it's so unique to, so you only sing Liberace once, right?
No, I saw him perform, 3 times here in Sydney.
Oh, 3 times. Wow.
Yeah, I saw him in 1971, 1973, and then in 1984. And 1984, it took some. I was working at the ABC at the time, so I was, you know, I was in my early to mid 20s, I suppose, and I was really steeped into classical music, and I hadn't given much of a thought to Liberace at all. Although I was still a member of his fan club, I hadn't sort of discontinued that. And one of my friends who I was working with at the ABC, her name was Anna. She said that she wanted to go and, you know, she'd like to go and hear Liberace. He was playing the Sydney Hilton, the ballroom in the Sydney Hilton, and would I go with her? And I sort of ummed and ahed and thought, no, I'm sort of, you know, I've grown out of that now. I'm a serious musician now. But I decided to go with her, and we got dressed up in evening clothes. I wore a white tuxedo, and she wore an evening gown and everything, and, you know, because this was Liberace. And we went, And I'm so glad I did, because from the moment he walked out on stage, and this is where I'm going to get teary, from the moment he walked out on stage, he gave me back my childhood. Because with all the changes that you undergo when you're growing up and all the changes that were happening in the world at that time, he was there doing exactly the same thing. He hadn't changed at all. And the comfort that I got out of that, knowing that this legendary person was just still there, you know, being who he was. And I remember at the end of his concert, I stood up and I waved. And I didn't know him, you know, I stood up and I waved. And he saw me, and I was really glad about that. Bernie Taupin, Elton John's lyricist, had actually snuck into the performance after the lights had dimmed to listen to the show, to Liberace perform.
Oh, wow.
And then it was, that was 1984. And then when he died in 1987, one of his neighbors in the street where he lived in Las Vegas had written me. She'd gotten everybody's name from the International Fan Club listing, because she wanted to start up a petition to save his Las Vegas home as a museum. And her name was Peggy. And we sort of started writing, and then she said, you know, it was in 1988, she said that the following year in 1989 they were going to have a celebration in honor of Liberace on his birthday, and you know, I should come over. And I thought, well, that's a really crazy idea, I'm going to do it. And I did. And I went over, and I met his family, and I met his housekeeper, who I loved to death. Her name was Gladys. I just loved Gladys so much. And at the luncheon in honor of Liberace, one of his proteges was to perform, and he was ill and he couldn't make it. And Liberace's sister came up to my table and she said, I hear you can play the piano, can you do something like my brother? And of course I could play, I used to play Liberace's arrangement of Tenderly, so I got up and played that. And that's how that all happened. From there on, I was invited back each year to play at celebrations at the Liberace Museum in Las Vegas. And from there I'd go and stay in his home in Palm Springs. So, which was an extraordinary experience, you know. And the thing about all that was, the celebrity that he was, the wealth that he had, status, all that fell away when I got to know his family and friends, and the stories I heard about him, of his kindness and generosity to everybody else. So that now whenever I watch Liberace, you know, in video clips or whatever, or I listen to him play, there's nothing of the celebrity there for me. It's just a wonderfully kind man, making people happy. And I got to know, from stories people had told me about him, what he was really like as a human being behind stage, you know, away from the stage. And that really changed my whole understanding of him as a performer. I don't see him as a showman or as a superstar now. I just see him as a wonderfully kind man.
Yeah.
And someone who really left a legacy that should have been remembered much better than what it was.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because there was a lot of sensationalism out there that just wasn't really true at all.
Oh, yeah, all the rumors and stuff. Yeah,
yes,
terrible.
Yeah. Would
you say? Oh, sorry, I was going to say.
No.
Would you would you think that anyone would come close to the level of fame that Liberace had? Because he was a really like popular, like he was like, I think he was, I read something that he was considered the highest paid entertainer of the 60s, 70s.
Yeah, he was. Actually, in the 1950s, he was earning $50,000 a week in the 1950s.
And that's because of the residencies in Las Vegas?
No, that was just from his television show. He hadn't even hit Las Vegas.
Wow.
That was 1950s black and white television show. And just, I think that there are pianists out there are players out there who could probably do what he did with the same level of proficiency, but I don't know if they'd have the personality in it. I think as well that he was one of a kind for the time that he was doing it. I don't think people like Elvis Presley, when he first arrived in Las Vegas, sought out Liberace for advice on what he should do to, you know, be a success in Las Vegas. And Elvis Presley sought advice from Liberace on his costuming and what type of things he should wear.
Maybe that's how he got inspired. I was just looking at Liberace images of. I was thinking, did he get inspired by Liberace? Because you get the vibe as well.
Yeah, I think too with like people like Elton John as well. Well, definitely. There's a fantastic story, and I can't remember where, and it's going back years. But in 1972, Liberace and Elton John were performing at the same Royal Command performance for the royal family in London. And Liberace really was, like, for what he was doing at the piano, he was at the height of his powers when he gave that performance. And he was an absolute showstopper. And England loved him. And Elton John had said afterwards that he felt really intimidated by Liberace's musicianship. And I think also by Liberace's costuming, because everything Liberace wore was real. When I was in Las Vegas, I saw it was like a cape, and it was made of black diamond mink. And the inside of the cape was lined with 40,000 Austrian rhinestones. That cape cost $950,000.
Whoa.
So Elton John had said even back in the 70s that he felt not only intimidated by Liberace's musicianship, but also by his, you know, his appearance and everything. And there was, I don't know where I heard this, but Elton John had said that he and Liberace were staying at the same hotel. And Elton John was waiting for the lift, and when the lift came and the doors opened, Liberace was standing in the lift, and Elton John said that he was so nervous getting in that lift with Liberace. So I think
which kind of shows that you've made it as an artist if you can make someone like Elton John nervous around you.
yeah, but I think you can safely say that even people like Lady Gaga, like with her costuming and everything, I think Liberace sort of paved the way for entertainers to be more daring, to dare to be different.
Like eccentric and like
yes. I mean, I think Liberace, like, I mean, my favorite, I suppose, era for Liberace would be in the 1970s. He got a little bit over the top, I think, for me anyway, in the 1980s. But he was contracted to do that. His contract with the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas, he had to top himself every year, which meant he had to have more lavish costumes, more lavish stage productions and things like that. But he was, I don't think the world of entertainment would be what it is today without him. It really wouldn't.
Another big artist that comes to mind is, of course, Taylor Swift, who's pretty big at the moment. She's just been all over the world on her big Eras tour, and she's right up there in global entertainers at the moment. So with her elaborate costumes and her stage performances. She has the big stage and the whole works.
It's such an enormous thing now, isn't it? Like, I mean, back in my day when I was like your age and younger, I mean, concerts were at the Hordern Pavilion or at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, but now they're in stadiums and huge arenas. It's all
like at Sydney Olympic Park, not too far from you, Philip.
Don't ask me to go. I wouldn't know how to get there, but anyway,
what is it? 3 stops from Concord, not too far
away. Probably. But I like I said, I mean, my life is mostly steeped in classical music and more writing, I suppose. But I like, and I don't admire, but I like and respect those people who do dare to be different and who sort of open up a whole new era in music, that come along, and do you know what I mean? I suppose like trailblazer type people. I mean, Michael Jackson, of course, although I prefer Prince to Michael Jackson.
Well, I mean, they were both eccentric, but Prince was really unique too himself as an individual.
I think Prince was the greater musician. I mean, from my understanding of music, I would say that.
Well, he was self-taught too. I think he self-taught himself.
Yeah, I always like to say that he gate crashed the party Michael Jackson started in music, you know. But there's so many phenomenal figures that have, you know, and not just like today, but like even going back to the 1930s, 1920s, and things like.
Yeah, I think everyone had that one. There was always that one eccentric artist who, you know, stood out from the rest. But at the same time, when you stand out from the rest, people are going to be talking about you all the time, and it can be whether it's positive or negative. And you know, I feel like the disturbing thing about it is like, I'm not saying this is the case for all of them, but sometimes the scary thing is like when you're so popular, and we've seen this with Elvis and Michael Jackson and Prince and all that stuff, you become so popular that your normal life starts to crumble and you forget what the world is like around you, and you get sucked into all these terrible people and influences, and then you end up like just being gone at such a young age. It's just it's kind of scary because we've seen that happen over and over. Not all the time, but like at most of the time when an individual is like, not, I wouldn't say famous, but like super famous.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was the case with Liberace, but
no, I think he was. I just had another thought about that. I think it's dangerous when performers, entertainers start to believe their own publicity.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Liberace was very grounded. There was an entry in Andy Warhol's diaries. Andy Warhol loved Liberace. He met in New York, I think it was. And the entry in his diary, he said that Liberace was the most normal person he'd ever met. You know, the most down-to-earth person. And he really was. Like when I was in Palm Springs staying in his home, I got to see private movies of parties and gatherings and Christmas get-togethers that he'd had. And he served his guests. You know, he was just an ordinary person. He got around in jeans and casual clothes. And across the road from his home in Palm Springs was the local church. And when he was there in residence in Palm Springs every Friday, he would go and cook meals for the underprivileged. And he not only cooked the meals, he'd serve them.
Wow.
So he was away from the stage. He was, you know, he was just an everyday person and just a really kind person. I never met one person in Palm Springs or Las Vegas who did not cry recounting stories of his kindness towards them, you know. And he was incredibly humble. You wouldn't think that when you see him perform, you know. I mean, this person wearing lavish cakes that cost $900,000 or something, you know. But I think he was behind the showmanship. There was a really genuine person there, and a very, very loving person. But yeah, I think people do. It's probably very easy to run the risk of believing your own publicity. You know, I'm glad I'm not in that type of.
Thank God, Philip.
I wouldn't cope. You know, I like what anonymity I've got. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who wants to be sort of gawked at when you walk down the street? You know.
Yeah, no. That's like even for people like Taylor Swift, I don't know how they would cope today, having to go outside and it's like you just can't even go anywhere because people recognize you. It's like I don't even think I could cope with that at all. I don't think anyone could.
Beyond getting done up in a disguise, how do you do it? I mean, I just, you know, I live a really ordinary life, and I really love that. I live a very simple life, and I'm simplifying. The older I get, the more I simplify, you know, and things that probably meant a lot to me when I was younger, they don't mean anything to me at all now. Not even the music I've written means that much to me. I tend to let go of everything. I do. I mean, I don't want my head cluttered full of everything I've done. I'd rather have my head an empty space, you know. It's you know, I'm just really happy. I'm really content with my life. I always have been.
It would be really hard for big name celebrities like Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber and so on, but even yourself, Philip, the OG5, like the way you get around Sydney and go to places like City Extra and hardly anyone notices you.
City Extra, yeah, I know. but that's a good thing. That's a fantastic thing.
Actually, it is a good thing when you think about it.
But you know
like
what?
that.
I get the feeling, like speaking of like the Taylor Swifts and all of those people, I get the feeling that someone who could get away with walking around and not being readily noticed is Harry Styles. I kind of think, like, if you passed him in the street, you wouldn't quite realize it was him to begin with.
Yeah.
Depending how he does his hair and stuff, and if he's on the sun, if he has a beard, you probably wouldn't recognize him at all.
It'd be easier for men celebrities because women can't grow beards, eh?
That's a good point. Now, I can also recall that you.
Well, maybe some women can. I don't know.
Did you go to the Harry Styles concert? I recall you went to the Harry Styles concert.
A friend took me there. It was a birthday gift, and it was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like it. I'd never I don't go to concerts. I had not even classical concerts. I don't go anywhere. I really don't, you know. And it was. I'd never been in an arena where there was like something like 90,000 people all at once. I liked Harry Styles as a musician. I never knew anything. I never knew anything. That's not right, is it? I didn't know anything about him. I knew of One Direction, but I wouldn't know One Direction song if you sang it to me. And it was only by chance that I heard him sing. It was one of the British Music Awards, and he sang "Falling." I think, and I thought, my God,
I'm falling again. Is that how it goes?
Yeah. And I thought, my God, what a song, what a performance, you know. And then I found that during that week, he'd not only lost a friend to suicide, I think, but he'd also been robbed at knife point in London. And he still fronted up and gave that performance. And I thought, you've got the goods. And I started listening to him a little bit more intently. And I really found that I enjoyed his songs, and I thought that they were really beautifully written. I got to know a lot of his work. And
yes, and speaking of these songs, he's got some beauties like Watermelon Sugar High. He's got some really catchy, fun songs. Harry Styles.
There were people at the concert dressed as watermelons. It was like,
wow.
You know, but it was an experience for me because, like, going there, like arriving to the stadium, it was like a pilgrimage. Like, you'd see a couple of people, and then there'd be more, and then, like, all of a sudden, there's just this massive crowd of people all going to hear this one fellow. So it was. I mean, I haven't listened to him for ages. I not for a good while, but mountains of respect for him because his songs are really well crafted.
Well, it's interesting because it's like because even with because obviously because he was part of One Direction before, I don't think it was the I think it might have been something like they went on hiatus because I don't think they even wanted to, because they all auditioned as individuals on the X Factor, but I don't think they wanted to be a band I mean, they did where they were a band, but I don't think it was their intention to stay a band, because even while they've all taken off now as individuals, I mean, I feel like they've become better performers as individuals. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Some people might disagree with me. I think they've gone off to have a better career as individuals. And I think even if they come back together, even after everything that's happened, if they come back together, it might not work, only because I think Harry Styles' career is already taken off.
Yeah,
than the others.
I don't know anything about the others really. But Harry Styles, I mean, he seems to be able to adapt himself to different genres of expression. Like, he acts and everything, you know, he's done movies and whatever. But getting back, you mentioned the X Factor, and as soon as you said that, the thought that crossed my mind, Darby, like, and Joe, could you imagine what Jamie Redfern, the impact he would have had had he gone on the X Factor if he was?
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, he would have probably won.
Oh,
probably would have won. He could have, just.
Who was that singer? Okay, I don't know if he's Melbourne, and I don't know if it was the X Factor or The Voice or whatever.
Yeah, I have to agree. All those sorts of shows now, like, well, the X Factor's not around anymore, but The Voice, nothing compares to back in the day, and those, you know, really, really high quality variety shows like Young Talent Time wasn't really variety, but, you know, those
New Faces as well. I think there was a show called New Faces.
New Faces with Bernard
all of those
King.
classic shows back in the day. It doesn't really compare to the stuff that goes out on free to air TV these days.
The singer I'm thinking of who was on either Idol or the X Factor here, Matt Colby. Do you know of him?
I'm not too sure. I don't think I've heard of Matt. No.
Oh, amazing talent. I think he's like one of those low key kind of people.
I'll have
in
to
a
search
Jeff
it up
Buckley
after
type
this.
sense.
After this stream, I'll have to have a listen.
Matt Corby. Yeah, Matt Corby. Corby. Matt Corby. Yeah.
There you go.
And of course, then you've got Harrison Craig, who won.
Yes, Harrison Craig, and I think you're also a personal friend of Harrison as well, Phillip.
Yeah, I see him sometimes when he gets here in Sydney. He's almost too nice. Like he's just like.
It's quite an extraordinary story. I mean, he's got a stutter and he's had some challenges in his life, and the way he can get on stage and open his mouth and just sing ever so beautifully, it's absolutely sensational.
The last time I heard him sing here, it was extraordinary. But he's such a nice person. He's incredibly humble. He's almost too humble for what he does, I think. But amazing talent, yes. I have a lot of time for Harrison when we do connect.
I know it was a few years ago, I think at Carols by Candlelight on Christmas Eve, I mentioned earlier, and there was Sylvie Palladino and Harrison Craig, and they did the most beautiful duet singing "Oh Merry Christmas, It's Christmas Day." And, in the room, well, I wasn't there, but, just watching on TV, you can just, feel the emotion, and he's just got such a beautiful, raw voice.
Yeah. No, he's good value. I thought of you the other day, Darby, when I was going through the shopping centre at Coles, because they've got Christmas decorations and Christmas puddings for sale. And I thought, it's Darby's favourite time of year. Yeah.
It really is. And
but it's only October.
I'll have to
forget Halloween.
Carols,
we'll just go to Christmas.
Halloween.
I have to admit, Carols by
America,
Candlelight is really special to me. I've been watching, the Christmas carols since I was a young kid, and the last couple of years, getting to actually go to the Sydney Maya Music Bowl on Christmas Eve on December 24 and be a part of the magic in real life. You can't put words to it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Such a great night of entertainment and raising funds as well for the cause for Vision Australia.
Yeah, good. Hey, Joey, did you go to see Wicked?
Yes, I did go and see Wicked.
How many times did you see it?
Definitely not as many as Darby. I only went and saw it once.
Darby saw it 27 times.
Yeah, he mentioned before 27 times, which is amazing. And also, I'm surprised you were able to afford it 27 times.
I didn't go once. When I this is going back to, 2006, when I was in London, it was showing in London, and I almost was going to go because I knew one of the cast members, but for some reason I didn't, and I kind of regret that I didn't go. I'd like to see it as a stage production. I saw the movie, but I
was going to say it's better to see it as a stage production first, then go watch the movie, because I wanted to make sure I watched it on stage before the movie came out.
Yeah. And there's so much green, because green's my favorite color, so I think I would have liked that. But yeah, I don't know why I never went to see it in London, but that's going back 20 years, 21 years. God.
Yeah, and Wicked is one of those big shows that, really opens your eyes, especially if you're new to theatre. You go see a show like Wicked and it's like, wow, this is huge. Like the sets, the costumes, and in the 27 times that I did go attend the Regent Theatre to see Wicked, every time I would go, I'd be focusing on a different element, whether it would be the set design or the conductor down in the orchestra pit or the lighting or the various elements, the choreography. Every time there's something, if you're a theatre kid, every time you're sort of, looking at little details and
Yeah. I haven't. I mean, I like I said, I don't go out that much. I don't go to many performances now. Not that I ever did. But musicals, I enjoy them. My favorite musical is West Side Story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like West. I love it too.
It's
watching it on stage is insane.
It's the best. Like if it was here in Sydney and I would go every night to it. I never get tired of it. It's fantastic.
I was in Sydney fairly recently, and I was very lucky because I had the opportunity to take a backstage tour in the Sydney Opera House, and again, that really opened my eyes. And
that's where you conducted, yes?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I got to go, all through in the theaters and the dressing rooms and behind the scenes and backstage. I got to go down in the pit, and I had a photo opportunity on the podium with the baton. It was quite extraordinary, really, to think that I'm conducting in the Jones Sutherland Theatre of the the Sydney Opera House.
I was really happy to see it. Joey, we've got to convince Darby to take up a conducting course.
You know what, Darby? Maybe that should be the next chapter of your journey. You go from 6 News to a conductor. Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe. We'll see what happens.
Got to do it.
But I've got a really good ear for music. So whenever I go to see a musical and I listen to the musical soundtrack, of course, I'm going to, really get into it. And I've got a baton from Phillip. I might add.
Really? Yeah, I found a baton here in Sydney and had it sent to him. But I think it's one of those things you've got to do, Darby.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's just like all theatre kids listen to musical theatre soundtracks that I just love, picking up the baton and going along with the beat and just getting into the soundtrack. It's so fun.
Yeah, all the film clips you sent me. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, good stuff.
That's amazing, Darby. Well, let's get back to because we've talked a while about your inspiration, Liberace, all that stuff. That was a very insightful and also great stories too. That I think a lot of our listeners will be very interested in too. And
it's that time when I was there in Palm Springs, especially. It's the most memorable time of my life. I've never experienced so much unconditional love from anybody as what I experienced, other than my parents. From anybody that they treated me like I was a special person. This is Liberace's family treating me like I was special, and it, incredible. I mean, most of those people have passed now; they've passed away, but it's had a very sustaining effect.
Would you hope that more of them, more people like Liberace's family would be around? I mean, you would wish that they continue to exist today, because it's like it's sad that we live in a society where, I'm not going to say it's all of them, but there's some people who use the title of being rude and mean just to get like attention, and it's just awful.
Yeah, I think everybody that I met that was close to him, his family members and his entourage, like his business people and whatever. And I think it was pointed out to me at one stage that I was like unique to that sort of situation, because I not only got, like, there was the Las Vegas side of Liberace, and then there was the Palm Springs side where he, which was his like haven away from performing. And I got to know everybody who meant anything to him in both camps, in Las Vegas and Palm Springs. I got to know the business people, I got to know the family and the private people. And they were all cut from the same cloth. They were all wonderfully kind people and incredibly generous, and very generous to me. And even like Liberace's housekeeper, she was something other than a housekeeper. She was like a second mother to him.
Wow.
Her name was Gladys, and she used to send gifts to my mother. She didn't even know my mother. She was black, and she was just, I loved her to death. And she, surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, that's the wrong word, but she passed away at 100 years of age on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
In 2011. But she used to write me letters, and she'd call me her zombie. I was her zombie baby. Because when I was in Las Vegas, I would never sleep, and we'd go out, like, she'd try to teach me gambling and stuff like that, and I just wouldn't sleep. So she always called me her zombie baby, and like with that wonderful way that black people express themselves. You're my zombie baby, sort of thing. And she was just incredible. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm taking up so much time here.
Oh no, that's fine. I'm keep going. I'm loving this.
The very first time that I was in Las Vegas for the celebrations on Liberace, I arrived there This is 1989. And I arrived there on a Thursday, I think it was. It was May 11th, anyway, I know that. And then I think it was on the Saturday, following Saturday or Sunday, they had just a small luncheon before the main celebration honoring him. And at this luncheon, they had a raffle. And the prizes were like, Liberace memorabilia, like photos of him, books about him, recordings, whatever. And people were winning prizes in this raffle left, right, and center. And I was standing there. And I wasn't thinking to myself that I wasn't getting anything. That didn't enter my head. I'd spent some time with Gladys the evening before at a private sort of function. And I'd helped her in the kitchen. She was preparing food. And we really hit it off. And at this function, when the raffle was happening, she was staring at me. She was on the other side of the room. She just kept on staring at me to the point where I had to keep on looking away because it was getting a bit awkward. Why you keep on staring at me? And prizes were being given out, and I was never getting anything. And she kept on staring at me like she was studying me. And it turned out she was. And at the end of the raffle, she came up to me and she asked for the people I was staying with to bring me to her place the next day. She lived in Larimore Drive in Las Vegas, in a home that Liberace had bought her. And she said, you get Pauline and Bob, who I was staying with, to bring you over to my place tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have some afternoon tea. When I got there, oh God, I'm going to get teary now. When I got there, she had a gift pack for me. And when I opened it, it had items of Liberace's clothing. Like genuine things that he wore, including a tuxedo jacket.
That'd be something.
And a shirt. And like a monogrammed handkerchief, which actually I gave to Anthony Field as a gift, believe it or not. I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, boy. Anyway, I gave it to him, and I think he blew his nose on it. But anyway, she gave me this gift pack, which had like these insanely personal things belonging to Liberace, and like costume pants, as well as like just a normal everyday tuxedo and a shirt and a handkerchief and a cigarette lighter. And just because she recognized that I'd come all the way from Australia and I didn't win anything in the raffle, she gave me all this stuff. And she never stopped giving to me, and she never stopped being like a mother to me across the years, even when I was back here in Australia, and the letters we wrote one another. It's extraordinary people. So that's like why I say now, whenever I see Liberace perform, I don't see the showman anymore. I just see the sincerity of a man whose sincerity touched other people.
And I'm happy that you can say this too on a personal experience, because while many people who watch him, I think young people who are going to watch him today, they would see the opposite. They would probably just see the showman and for what he was on stage. But obviously for you, it's a lot different, because having known or having had a connection of him, especially through his family, we get a very different insight on the individual that he was, and what he was like when he wasn't performing on stage.
He like the videos that I saw of him, at family gatherings and Christmas parties and things like that. Even the way he walked wasn't what it was on stage. He more or less shuffled. You almost didn't notice him. He was just an ordinary person who's sort of get dressed up in all these outlandish costumes, play the piano remarkably well, make $1 million or so, and then go back to being an ordinary person.
How to live your life, just be a very normal person, get paid a lot, and then just kind of like not have to gloat about it or anything.
Yeah, I think because he had humble beginnings anyway. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked again, aren't we?
No. Honestly, I think having to have a long discussion about something that isn't related to the Wiggles is brilliant. I think it's a brilliant start, and thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
Liberace had an impact on Anthony Field as well. I mean, so much so to the point where sometimes I happen to see Anthony performing with the Wiggles, and I recognize the way he moves across stage as similar to the way Liberace might have moved across stage.
Right.
And I remember one time at university at the Institute of Early Childhood, when it was in Henrietta Street in Waverley, when we hadn't joined with Macquarie University. There was, I think it was Environmental Studies Day or something. And Anthony photocopied all these sort of photographs of Liberace and put them up in the common room. Like, there's a photograph of Liberace sort of potting a plant. And that was like Liberace during Environmental Studies Day or something. Anthony studied Liberace to the point where he had his patter down on stage. Like I'd be in a car with Anthony, and Anthony would be sort of putting on a Liberace voice, and he knew Liberace's performance patter like the back of his hand. He studied in that much, and at one stage, Anthony had a didgeridoo that he'd painted himself, and on the didgeridoo, he'd painted various periods in the history of his own life, and for that section of his life, when he immersed himself in Liberace's career, he had a pink sequin stuck on the didgeridoo. So I and the other thing, and this was just my impression. You know how the Wiggles, from some concerts I've seen, they drive the big red car out under the huge Wiggles logo. On stage.
In the most recent shows too, right?
Yeah. There's only one other performer in history that I've seen do that, and that was Liberace driving his mirrored Rolls Royce out on stage under the Liberace's logo.
Oh, wow.
So the Wiggles just got inspired to drive the big red car like Liberace.
Well, when I saw them drive out on stage under their logo, I'm thinking, no, that's Liberace. The only difference is he had a mirrored Rolls Royce.
I reckon you might be onto something there.
I don't. Anthony sort of struck me as being someone who really didn't have that many original ideas. And he relied on other people to fulfill his dreams for him.
There you go.
A lot of the time.
That sounds about right, yeah.
He's very much, I mean, this is my experience of him back then, which is a long time ago. But he's very entrepreneurial. But yeah, that struck me about driving the big red car out on stage and under the logo. It's very Liberace. And I do think the way he strides across stage, the way Anthony strides across stage, has sort of the same kind of power behind it that Liberace had. Whether that's the effect of an audience on you or not, I don't know.
I think that's a very new fact that the Wiggles community is about to learn. Were the Wiggles inspired by Liberace to drive the big red car?
Anybody who's listening to this, go onto YouTube, and there's a video clip of Liberace arriving on stage at the Las Vegas Hilton, and you tell me it's not the same thing. But anyway, that's just my impression, So if other people get that impression, all very well.
So we're going to go with the one who knew Liberace's family better than any of the other members of the.
Well, I can tell you that Liberace had an enormous impact on Anthony. And it wasn't until I came into Anthony's life, or Anthony kind of, lassoed me, that he became so aware of Liberace as he did. And that's where my nickname Archie came from. You know how he called me.
Okay.
That's why he called me Archie.
Archie's theme, of course, one of the hits on the day.
I never liked the fact that he wanted to rename that piece Archie's theme, because it was originally, I wrote it when I was 14. 14 years of age, and it was originally called Summer Dance, and it's been recorded as Summer Dance by another pianist, actually, Elvis Leosados, who I'd studied with. But I don't know why Anthony wanted to call it Archie's theme, but back then, whatever Anthony said, you did. So I really sort of couldn't go against him with that. Right. And after the debut album, I recorded another album, which Anthony wanted me to do, or he coerced me into doing it, because he wanted to promote me as a pianist. And Greg Page sang on that album. There was Greg Page and actually Steve Pomfret, who was a sound engineer for the Dabo album. He also sung on the album. And it was basically me playing some classical things and Irish folk songs, because Anthony loved Irish folk songs. And
yeah, we can see Irish also had an impact on Anthony and his music inspiration.
Yeah. And a lot of songs from Aspects of Love. And this album, which never saw the light of day, thank heavens, it was fully recorded. I financed the whole thing. Anthony wanted me to be producer.
So wait, the album was recorded, you said?
Yes, it's recorded. I've got it here in the house.
Oh wow!
Like on a large, large thing. And Greg is singing on it. Greg actually had a cold, I think, that day. And like I said, Steve Pomfret, who was the sound engineer for the Dabo album, we found that he had a voice, and he sang on it. He sang a duet with Greg, a duet from Aspects of Love. And there was a girl who Anthony knew, Anthony was involved with, and she sang on it as well. She didn't know she had a voice, but I kind of coached her a little bit through the whole process. And I paid for the whole thing. But things were going a bit pear-shaped with Anthony at that stage anyway, so it never really saw the light of day, and I'm glad of that. But getting back to the whole Archie's thing, nicknaming me Archie and everything, Anthony wanted that album to be called Archie and Friends. And I'm thinking, I'm not Archie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think it seemed to be a trait within the Field family anyway, that everybody had a nickname. I think, Greg's is Pagey, but that stands to reason. Anthony's
Muzza?
brother. Yeah, no, Anthony's brother John he's called Megsy. I don't know why.
Megsy? What?
Yeah, Megsy. Yeah. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, but anyway, but I got Archie because of Liberace,
Right.
But he seemed to sort of want to name everything Archie this, Archie that. So.
Oh wow.
But that album, anyway, that's here in the house.
Yeah. But anyway, now that we've come up to, so the 80s roll around, so after you've spent time with Liberace's family, you came back to Australia. And is that when you decided to take up, so how did the job at Macquarie University come about?
Oh, I was there at Macquarie University from 1988. So I was there before the Liberace thing happened.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That came about. What was my job before that? I'd worked at the ABC. Yeah, I'd worked at the ABC. And my time there came to an end, and I was really looking for a part-time job that would allow me to spend most of my time with whatever creative pursuit I was following at that time. Writing music or even just practicing or whatever. And a friend had mentioned to me that she had a friend who was a music lecturer at the Institute of Early Childhood, and her name was Rosemary Hall, and she was looking for an assistant. And it was a 17-hour-a-week job. And Rosemary is basically the one who taught early childhood music to the Wiggles. And she taught them pretty much everything they know. And she was a really inspired teacher. She'd studied at the Zoltán Kodály Institute in Hungary, so she knew her stuff. She knew about early childhood music at a developmentally appropriate level. And anyway, she was looking for an assistant because she had some serious health concerns. And I got the job. I think I'm probably the only person who applied for it anyway. And I sort of propped up the program when she wasn't terribly well. And my first year of employment there was 1988 and 1989, and I think it was 1990 maybe that it would have been 1990 that I first met Anthony. I don't think I met him in 1980. And
so so you had Greg, Paige, Murray Cook, and of course Anthony. You were the classroom assistant at the time, and they were obviously the students. Jeff Fat, I understand, wasn't there at that point.
No, not at all. Jeff Fat has, had no training in early childhood music, but and Greg was in a totally different year. Greg was at the time the Wiggles started. Greg was a first year student. Murray and Anthony were third year students. And I've seen where it has been said that the debut album was part of a music project assigned them by university. That's just not true. It couldn't have been a music project because the fact that Greg was in a different year to Anthony and Murray, and because I was on staff, and as a member of staff I wouldn't be allowed to be involved in a music assignment. So wherever, I don't know who's responsible for saying that the debut album was part of a music project assigned them by university. That's simply not true. And I've also seen where it has been said that there was a 40-page thesis written on the debut album, which was submitted to the ABC. I have no knowledge of a 40-page thesis, none at all. I do remember going with Anthony to the Field family home one Friday afternoon and just dictating a couple of pages to Anthony's mother, who was typing up what we were submitting with the debut album to the ABC at that time. It was only a couple of pages. So as for a 40-page thesis, if there is one out there, I'd like to see it, because I'd like to see what was written about the work I did. I can't imagine a 40-page thesis being written without me being consulted about my work.
The Wiggles have shared the story of their origins quite a few times. Most recently, of course, many people would have seen the Hot Potato, the story of the Wiggles on Prime Video. Can you, from your perspective...
Mashed potato, what?
Yeah, exactly. We'd love to get your perspective on how it all came together very early on in 1991 for the Wiggles.
It was simple.
Simple, we've heard it a lot.
I've honestly not read anything. What little I've read, I've not read anything of their beginnings that is as it was. I was the first person Anthony asked to be involved in it. And I know that because he asked me around about November of, was it 1990, I suppose? Because my contract at the Institute of Early Childhood would end every year at November. And then it would resume around about February or March the following year. So I was the first person Anthony asked if I, to be involved in it and if I was interested in it. And it was as simple as that. There's that photo of me pulling my nose. Oh my Lord, look at that. Anyway, I guess could interpret that many ways, couldn't you? Like, what am I doing here? That could be the caption. What am I doing here? That's at Tracking Station, by the way.
Which is now JMC, you said?
Yeah. Well, I assume it still is JMC. But yeah, and it was a large studio. Tracking Station was a large studio. It had a grand piano in it. It had a full sound system thing. I've seen a documentary, I think, where John Field says that it was like, a tiny little studio, but John Field wasn't there at all. He had no idea. So yeah, the Tracking Station was really quite an established studio. Look, there's some.
So the Wiggles, the debut album, was mostly filmed at Tracking Station, but I understand you tried having a go at it in your own home. Is that true?
Yeah, the very first recording session was done here in the room I'm in now.
Wow.
And there was just the four of us. There was Anthony, Murray, Greg, and myself, of course. And I think it was Murray brought in the recording equipment. I think maybe the keyboard, it was either Greg's or Murray's. And it was only a small Casio, and I propped it up on the grand piano here as well and used both. But, being an Anthony had his didgeridoo here and whatever else we needed. but obviously the sound quality just wasn't up to par for it. So then we hit on the idea of going to the auditorium at the Institute of Early Childhood and recording it there, because it was a huge auditorium and it had a grand piano as well. But again, the same thing. It wasn't polished enough, the sound that we got. And so from there, the third time, lucky, we went to Tracking Station. And the grand piano there, curiously enough, didn't work either. But I think that was more because when I was playing it, they had the microphones too close to the felts on the keys, and you could hear them, the shushing sound. And then Steve Pomfret at the 11th hour phoned a keyboard player who was connected to Johnny Farnham, and we got his keyboard in, which was a magnificent thing. I was really happy playing it, and it had all the sounds of all the other instruments on it, sort of simulated sounds and whatever. So pretty much everything, like on the debut album, when you hear a violin, when you hear a cello, when you hear a flute or whatever, that's actually me playing. So yeah.
Well, we have stated, I don't know if it was you or Greg or one of you guys stated that that you contributed the most musically to the album, and we even have a document too. We have the I can't remember what it was called, but it was the one that described
the breakdown sheet.
The breakdown sheet, yeah, yeah. You can pull
that's
that up,
that's not fully comprehensive either, the breakdown sheet, because where on the breakdown sheet where you see everyone gets a percentage of this 0.2 or something, even Jeff Fat gets those percentages. That's my work, because after the album was recorded, Anthony had said to me that in a band type situation, everybody gets an equal share. So Murray, Greg, Anthony, and of course Jeff, even though Jeff had very little, next to nothing to do with the writing of the debut album, got a share of everything I did. So I would say, based on that, 75% of that album is me. All up, writing, performing, and financing it.
But for Jeff, like, because I think it was it just the four of you, Greg, Anthony, and Murray at the start, and then Jeff didn't even come until the recording was at its end, or?
Yes, that's right. Yes, he came in at the very last couple of days, or even the last day, and everything had already been done. And my impression was essentially that Anthony got him in to, I never get this term right, sequence or sample everything I had done. So everything I did for the debut album, all my arrangements, whether it was violin, cello, flute, whatever, keyboard, piano, all my arrangements and all my original works were then sampled into his keyboard, into his private keyboard, which was a Korg or something. I don't know. Yeah.
So wait, hold on. So you're saying that all of the instruments were already recorded by yourself, and then Jeff came in and pretty much sampled all of the instruments that you used onto his keyboard, which explains why the debut album had a kind of demo sounding vibe to it.
Well, no, I don't know, because I'm not up on this sort of technical stuff. When he sampled everything, everything I had recorded, like, he then had the entire album in his keyboard,
right,
to play back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Because it is a very demo sounding album. Yeah. It sounds like it was literally just made on the keyboard.
Well, it was the demo. The debut album, as released by the ABC, was the demo tape that we submitted without alteration.
Yeah, right. So that was only meant to be the demo tape. It wasn't an actual album. It was just a demo that the ABC sort of, had a look and said, "Oh, we're going to release this type of thing."
That's right. So the debut album that ended up getting a gold and platinum award was the demo tape. they've given a Golden Platinum Award to a demo tape, essentially.
Well,
which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny when you put it that
probably
way,
explains,
isn't it?
like in a way, it probably explains why they didn't, why they re-recorded the album in a way and didn't re-release it. I mean,
No,
whether or not it was to remove contributions at the same time.
No, that's something else, I think.
Oh, something else.
Yeah,
okay.
I think
well,
that
just
is
because if it was a demo album, if it was meant to be a demo album,
I think that has to do with something else, and it just doesn't make sense that the album had almost. It had reached platinum status and it was almost due to get another award, and then it was just re-recorded. I wasn't actually told that it was being phased out.
Right.
And I noticed that my royalties were dwindling to next to nothing, which didn't make sense to me at the time. I had fallen very ill as well, and the Wiggles knew that. I had notified them about it. And I think that perhaps the phasing out of the debut album might have had something to do with that. But when I noticed that my royalties were really dropping down to, almost nothing, I phoned the ABC. I spoke to a lady there. She was really beautiful. I knew her quite well. Her name was Valerie Mitchell, and she was in charge of distributing royalties. I think that was her role. And she told me, I've got a funny story about this, actually. She told me that they were phasing the album out. And when she realized that I didn't know that, she said, "Didn't the Wiggles tell you?" And I said, "No, I haven't been notified at all." And she just said, "Oh, they're naughty boys." So somewhere along the line, they didn't tell me that everything I had done was being,
Yeah, something went in a different direction. Look, that is sad to hear, but on a more positive note, we all know and love the song Rockabye Bear. It's one of the most popular songs from the debut album and still is one of the most popular Wiggles songs of all time. And I understand you had a pretty big role in putting that song together.
No, not really. I did the Anthony had an idea for what he wanted at the beginning, which was the I suppose the trumpet part, arpeggio kind of thing. And I did that. Which was replayed throughout the thing. My memory of that song, and to this day I still say it, even though I think Greg has said otherwise, is that it's Greg's song.
Yeah. But
I remember before, it was probably before the debut album came out, going to a Cockroach gig, and Anthony got Greg up on stage and they did Rockabye Your Bear. And Anthony actually sort of claimed to the audience that Greg was a genius, for writing that song. I'm convinced to this day that it is entirely Greg's song.
Yeah, but the classic instrumental behind it, like the
yeah, that's me.
That was all you.
Me.
Yeah, so you were the mastermind behind the.
Yeah, and I've even got like the cassette sleeve from the original cassette from the demo tape that we were issued, which has got in Anthony's own handwriting on the cassette sleeve. He's credited me with that.
Well, that's crazy because it's like, because when we were watching the documentary, Anthony claimed that he was the one who came up with that.
He had an idea for it, which I then developed and played.
Okay.
Yeah. And on the sleeve, I can actually send it to you. I think on the sleeve, he's actually, it's credited to the three of us. It's got in Anthony's handwriting. It's got Rockaway, Bear, Page, Field, Wilcher. But what was before that? There was something. I can't remember. Something to do with the debut album.
Yeah. And now another song that some Wiggles fans might know from the debut album is, of course, Mischief the Monkey, and you were the genius behind our favourite lovable monkey. Now, according to Greg Page in one of his autobiography books, in the very, very early days, this was, I think, before Dorothy the Dinosaur, is it true that Mischief the Monkey was its own mascot in stage shows on stage?
I didn't know that until I'd read Greg's book. I had no idea that they were using Mischief as a mascot. I do know, at the time I wrote it, there was one Saturday when Anthony and I went to Sydney University to sort of brainstorm. Can two people brainstorm? I suppose they can. Brainstorm ideas on a film clip for Mischief. And the idea was that Mischief, was this monkey in a jungle, and as the leaves would fall down from the trees, they'd turn into music notes and whatever. But that never happened. But I had no idea that Mischief was officially a Wiggles mascot in the beginning. I was never notified of anything about what happened within the group or with the debut album. After I stepped back, I was never notified of anything at all.
Well, speaking of that, Philip, because after you recorded the debut album, when was the sorry, I'm just trying to think of the answer. But when you guys, because the first performance you did as a group was at a Randwick childcare center. I think we had the image up before. I think that was the Do you mind getting that up, Darby, just so we can see it again?
Because I think image that was the
image of the daycare. I mean, was it the preschool daycare center?
Yeah,
where
Randwick.
Yeah, Randwick. So I think that was there it is.
Yeah.
So that there was the first ever performance of the Wiggles.
Yes. All those kids would probably they'd be in their 30s now, wouldn't they, or 40s?
And what an honor that! I mean, imagine being one of those kids. Like we were the first people to see the Wiggles perform live.
I suppose so. Yeah.
And that's a really unique thought. I wonder if there's anyone out there in the world, in Wiggle world, Wiggle land, who has some footage from the concert at Darling Harbour, or has some pictures or anything like that. It'd be interesting to see if maybe one day someone came forward with a picture with Philip in the background or something. Like that.
I know at the Darling Harbour concert I signed some CDs for some children. Yeah, some signed copies out there as well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because so after that concert, now we've heard the stories about how you've left the group. We had one of them that said that you started to become a little bit uncomfortable performing live for the group after a couple of shows and decided to take a step back. But in your own words, could you explain to us initially why you stopped performing live with the group?
Okay, in 1997, when I was first discovered by the press as the fifth Wiggle, I was approached by a journalist named Di Burrell, and she was a freelance journalist, and she was writing for Aussie Post magazine, and she wanted to interview me as like the apparent forgotten fifth Wiggle kind of thing, and I remember as well in Melbourne, of all places, on one of your newspapers, they'd put on, I think, the front page of one of the papers or something, a small notification saying, "Phillip Wilcher, where are you?" or something like that. I can't remember. So I think people were kind of wondering who this guy is, or what's happened to him. And I did this interview with Di Burrell, and she asked me the question that you just asked. Why did I take a step back in performing? And I wasn't entirely honest with her. I said that I wasn't a good dancer, which I'm not. I'm not a good dancer. I said I didn't feel comfortable dancing.
Right.
But more than that, I didn't feel all that comfortable anymore in Anthony's presence, because after I had done everything that he had asked me to do with the debut album, it's like the friendship changed. He changed towards me. There was like this shutdown. So I didn't really feel at all comfortable being, near him, which is why I then decided to step back. And when I stepped back, or when I made that decision to myself that I can't do this, I really just can't do this, I phoned Jeremy Fabini, who was the manager, and it was agreed that I could stay behind the scenes as a writer and write for subsequent albums. Now, the debut album, the contract with the ABC for the debut album, it afforded the Wiggles another two. Oh my lord! Look at that. It afforded the Wiggles another two albums, which was "Here Comes a Song" and whatever the third one was. And Jeremy Fabini agreed that I could stay behind the scenes as a writer and write for subsequent albums, and that was a verbal agreement. And it was pretty much reneged on. There's an article which I think you'll find online by a journalist named Steve Dow. It was one of the very first articles as well, called "A Lifeless Wiggly," and he touches upon the fact that the verbal contract was reneged on. And I actually wrote a lot of music for "Here Comes a Song" as well. I wrote an enormous lot of music for it. But yeah, I really stepped back from performing the Wiggles because I just wasn't comfortable in Anthony's presence anymore. Because the dynamic had changed.
Yeah, you've shared this picture, Philip, on Instagram, and we know this is getting pretty personal, but could you talk us through this picture? I understand you had a bit of a personal connection.
That's my baptism. That was when I converted to Catholicism in 1990, I think it was. It's just before the Wiggles album came out. That I can connect this to Liberace as well. It's a long story, but when I was in Palm Springs in 1989, I'm not sure which, 1990. One of Liberace's closest friends, his name was Vince, and everybody called him Father Vince because he'd studied to be a priest. And he always wore black and he wore a crucifix, so everybody just assumed he was a priest. And like whenever he'd go out to dinner with Liberace, waiters would serve him first because they thought he was a priest over Liberace, so he got nicknamed Father Vince. Anyway, I would go to Mass with Father Vince. Father Vince was just like a wonderful human being, incredibly joyous and just an uplifting soul. And I would go to Mass with Father Vince. And I had mentioned to him, I wasn't Catholic, I was Church of England. But I'd mentioned to Father Vince that as a child I had venerated Our Lady. To the point where I even had a rosary as a child. I didn't know what it meant, but I just had that connection sort of thing. And Father Vince gave me a catechism. He didn't pressure me towards becoming Catholic. He just gave me the catechism. He said, "Take it, read it, see what you think," sort of thing. And I read it. I read it mostly while I was there in Palm Springs. And then I came home and I didn't give much thought to converting. I didn't really feel that I needed to anyway because I believed in Jesus Christ, and that was enough for me. But I'd mentioned to Anthony about Father Vince. Anthony knew of Father Vince. We used to speak about him quite a lot. And I told him that Father Vince had given me the catechism and whatever, because Anthony and his family were staunch Catholics. And Anthony more or less coerced me into taking up the Catholic faith. And he arranged for me to have instruction in the Catholic faith through his family priest, who was a really wonderfully holy man named Father Max Balabansky. And Father Max was at the Mount St. Francis Friary in Kellyville, near the Field family home. And I would go every Wednesday and have my instruction in the Catholic faith with Father Max. And then one day when I was with Father Max, he told me that Anthony had asked him if it would be all right for him to become my godfather. And I had just that brief moment when I'm thinking, that's odd, but okay. And then I said to Father Max, well, yeah, okay, maybe his mother should be my godmother, meaning Marifia. So that was all arranged, and I was baptized, I think it was on the 10th of March, 1990, at the Mount St. Francis Friary at Kellyville. And then there was a celebration at the Field family home afterwards. And Anthony and his mother were sworn in as my godparents. And at the baptism, which I have on video, actually, I have on a VHS tape here, but
oh wow,
I can't convert it. Paul Field filmed it. He filmed my baptism. Luke Field was there, like he was a little boy, of course, I have a photograph somewhere with, all you can see is the back of Luke Field's head, and Father Max is giving me a Bible. But yeah, my whole baptism was filmed by Paul Field, and the entire Field family were there. John Field, his Anthony's sisters, Colleen and Marie. Yeah, everybody was there. It was a family affair. None of my family were there because my family didn't really approve of me changing faiths.
Right.
And I think in retrospect, I should not have done it.
But look, if it was something that you wanted to do, because if it was going to make you a better person and make you happy, then that's totally up to you. Like, I think everyone has the right to live their life the way they want to live it. And if you're an adult making your own decisions like that, then that's totally up to you.
Yeah,
I think, and if it's going to make, and like I said, if it's making you a better person, I don't understand if there's anything wrong with it. Like, I wouldn't, like, I'm just going to say this. I wouldn't personally consider myself a religious individual, but I think if people are using it as a way of being respectful and kind, just kind, honestly, just having kindness and being, just a nice person.
Yeah. But I don't think I should have. I don't think I should have converted to Catholicism. I mean, I believe in the teachings of Christ, and
right.
I think religion, like as soon as someone says religious, I kind of recoil from that. I think Oscar Wilde once said that religion is the curse of Christianity, and I don't think he was wrong. Because I think Christ's love actually transcends Christianity, because it embraces everything and everyone. But no, I think I was more. I think Anthony kind of got a kick out of the fact that he could be my godfather or something. I was kind of coerced into becoming a member of his family's faith at that time. So I don't know where I stand. I don't know if he's still my godfather today. That's really bizarre, isn't it? If he's listening to this, hey Anthony, you're still my godfather. It's kind of.
That was hilarious. That was an OG5, classic. That was
and if you still are my godfather, why aren't you being honest about me?
Oh my God.
I mean, for heaven's sake, But yeah, that was then, and this is now. I'm very. I mean, I have my faith, and I'm very stable in it, and I'm, as I was saying earlier when we were talking about composing music and writing music. I mean, that's all been a part of my faith. That's all been the way it's a part of how I pray. So yeah. Yeah, so I've got a famous godfather.
A famous godfather hasn't spoken to you in 30 years.
No, I've got to tell you though, because and I was surprised this got through and no one picked up on it. On the card that Anthony gave me the day I was baptized, he wished me well and whatever. He signed it Don Corleone, who is the mafia godfather. Out of the Godfather movies, Don Corleone sort of thing. That's how he signed the card. And on the debut album, when we had to submit lists of names of those people we wanted to thank and remember, like family members and whatever, that was printed on the debut album, I slipped in Don Corleone. Because things weren't going terribly well with Anthony and me at that stage. And I'm thinking, I'm going to put in Don Corleone, probably won't get in, but just going to leave it, that sort of thing. It's printed on, if you look at any copy of the debut album, you'll see Don Corleone in the credits in that kind of thing, which is kind of funny. I got away with that, yeah.
That's great. Wait, so that's printed as a credit on the debut.
Where you have on the debut album, the Wiggles would like to thank, and then we list everybody, like family members and anybody who's had anything to do with anyone. I think Greg even mentioned Odette, who was his girlfriend at university at that time, along with my parents and whoever else I mentioned. I put in Don Corleone. And it's there. And I think I could be wrong in this, but I seem to remember years ago reading something somewhere where someone had asked if the Wiggles had a mafia connection, and I wondered if I wondered if that's what they were talking about. But Don Corleone's name definitely appears on the Devo album.
Oh, that's crazy. That's and that was your idea too, to have it
Well,
on.
yeah, I didn't tell anyone, because I thought I didn't tell anyone. I thought, no, I'm gonna do that, because like I said, things were going a bit pear-shaped between Anthony and me at the time, and I thought, we'll see what happens. And I was surprised it got through, and it's been one of those things I've sort of had a chuckle over every now and then, But yeah, Don Corleone is mentioned on the Devo album.
Oh, hold on, I'm just getting the image. I'll send it to That's crazy.
It should still be there. It was on the original pressing. I know that.
Just sending it over to Darby so he can share it on the show. But so no one. So Anthony, does he still know? Did he find out about it, or was it?
I don't think so. Unless he didn't, or it was funny. I don't. I don't know. But yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's extraordinary. So at least that's another fact for the Wiggles community, in case they didn't actually know anything about it. So at least there'll be some clarity.
I know, like I said, I know it was definitely on the first pressings of the album. Whether it was caught out later, I don't know, but yeah, it was definitely on the first pressings.
Oh, that's crazy. So
yeah, I was a sneaky little fellow, wasn't I? Actually, I'm going to blame Mischief. I'm going to say that Mischief the Monkey.
Mischief the Monkey.
Because Mischief does these sort of things.
Yeah, and speaking of Mischief the Monkey, where did the inspiration for that come from? Like, was there a funny story behind it, or?
I don't know. It just happened. We were again. Jeff wasn't involved at that stage. We were at the Institute of Early Childhood. Yeah. Again, the campus in Waverley, in Henrietta Street, and we're in the music room. There was Murray, Greg, and myself and Anthony, and Anthony was tallying up the tracks and what we'd had, everything for the Devo album, and he sort of blurted out at me, "Archie, we need another song," sort of thing. And I just got a large sheet of paper, and this just reminded me of what I was like when I was a kid, getting a large sheet of paper and sprawling it out on the floor and writing music. I got this large piece of paper in the music room and just laid on the floor, and I wrote Mischief the Monkey in about 10 minutes. And there's nothing special in me saying that, because it's pretty much a formula thing. It's really developmentally appropriate. It's solfa, and the words came to me as quickly as the idea for the glockenspiel and the music. So yeah, Mischief happened very quickly, and it was just a matter of circumstance, I suppose.
So it only took you 10 minutes to write Mischief the Monkey. Oh, bananas galore!
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's a banger song. I mean, it's not really a song. It's just
it's a poem. It's basically designed to teach children about intervals in music and solfa and things like that. But if I could go back, I wouldn't have repeated the words the same. I would have had maybe 2 different verses. But it happened very quickly, and I love Mischief. I mean, Mischief's he even got I have a friend in Spokane, which I think is in Washington, in the States, and I assume he still has it. He used to have a late night grunge music show on radio from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. or something in the morning, playing heavy metal and grunge, kind of that type of music. And he played Mischief once on his show, which I think would have been funny to have all these sort of grungy people with nose piercings and everything suddenly listening to Mischief the Monkey. But yeah, I've got a real soft spot for Mischief. I wonder what that is. There any sort of film clip of him as when he was a mascot for the Wiggles?
Yeah, well, that's what I wondered. If and if anyone tuning in or anyone watching this or anyone really has any footage of that very rare concert appearance back in the early 90s, whenever it was, of the apparent Mischief the Monkey mascot, send it through. We'd love to see it.
I wonder what they used.
Yeah,
probably a puppet. It might have been just a puppet. I mean, they did that for Spot the Dalmatian. Could have been the same for Mischief the Monkey.
Yeah. Hey, you know, in the Get Ready to Wiggle film clip, the bear.
The teddy bear floating past Murray. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my bear.
Oh, that was your bear. Oh, wow.
His name was Bruno. Yeah.
Bruno the bear.
Yeah,
he was my bear. Yeah, and
that's another thing.
The scarf that's actually on it belonged to my mother. She sort of put the scarf on him. But yeah, that's my bear, and I've since given the bear to someone else. The bear is actually living in Melbourne now, believe it or not. So there's Bruno the bear. Oh, should have written a children's song called Bruno the Bear. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So,
still time, Philip. There's still time to write one. Still time. Don't worry.
Get Ready to Wiggle, the Get Ready to Wiggle clip. So that was a closed set. That was filmed behind closed doors, whereas the Dorothy the Dinosaur, that was filmed in the public outside at a concert, which I don't think you even knew about.
No. No, that's right. The Get Ready to Wiggle film clip was filmed at Gore Hill, at the ABC studios in Gore Hill, and it took like an entire day to do.
Yeah.
The Darling Harbour.
Do you remember when it was filmed exactly? Sorry, the Get Ready to Wiggle video clip, because it was before the album came out, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was. Well, I can't remember that. I suppose it must have been. I do remember that the album cover, the debut album cover, was going to be yellow, and it was the yellow that you see as one of the backdrops in the film clip for Get Ready to Wiggle, I think, where they change all colours. But something happened in the printing and it came out orange. But I can't remember if it was before. But yeah, I with the Dorothy the Dinosaur film clip, I'd not seen any of the Wiggles since. What month did the debut album come out?
It was confirmed to be August in 91.
Okay, well, it was March when Anthony approached me. I hadn't seen any of the Wiggles since August through to March. However many months that is, 7 months or something. And I was in my office at the Institute of Early Childhood. And, Anthony suddenly appeared at the door, which was the first time I'd seen him. It's quite a surprise. And he told me that he was teaching at Temple Emmanuel, which was a Jewish preschool in Wallara, I think, Sydney. It was, it would have been either a Monday or a Tuesday, I can't remember. And he asked me if I would visit with his class at Temple Emmanuel on the Thursday and played piano to the children. Oh, look, there's another picture. Oh, look how young Jeremy looks.
That photo looks like it's from the photo shoot of the debut album as well.
Yeah, was that before you were just about to film the Get Ready to Wiggle clip on the closed set?
It may have been. I don't know where that is.
Yeah, okay.
So it possibly is back, in one of the back rooms at the ABC, because I don't.
Yeah, I believe this picture was shared not that long ago by the Wiggles enthusiast page.
Yeah, because I don't remember where that is exactly, and I'm thinking maybe the two ladies, you just see their heads are lower left. They may be maybe some employees or something like that. So yeah, I think that's probably right. But yeah, so Anthony fronted up at the Institute of Early Childhood, and he asked me if I would visit with, come to the Temple Emmanuel on the Thursday and play piano to his children, to his preschoolers. And so I did. I went. and he introduced me to his classes, The Sleep Inspector, and I played a piece of music called The Swan to the children because it was like a lullaby. And then he had me sit in the center of the class and had all the children ask me questions. And then he introduced me to the head mistress, I suppose you'd call her, of Temple Emmanuel, and we were sitting at a table. This was a Thursday afternoon. And he told me that they were doing a film clip for Dorothy the Dinosaur. And he wanted me in it. And it was being filmed on the Sunday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2-3 days later. And I at first said no. I didn't want to be a part of it. Because, I hadn't seen any of them for 7 months. I had no real idea what to expect. So I declined. I declined the offer and I came home. And I, of course, mentioned it to my family, to my parents, and to several friends, one of whom was a very competent musician, and was always concerned about me, and people that I would get involved with, as far as music goes. And everybody said, no, you should do it. Just do it. And I thought, well, okay, I'll do it. So I phoned Anthony. I said, look, yeah, Anthony, okay, I'll do the film clip. So he told me to meet him at his apartment. He was living in the Sydney suburb of Stanmore in a very small apartment, on Sunday, the following Sunday morning. So that's like 3 days after, he sort of put this idea to me. So I fronted up at his apartment, and he drove me to Darling Harbour. He had a car there, which it was a Tirana, a small sort of beige-coloured Tirana, and the number plate was HXO something or other, and I nicknamed the car Hexo. Anyway, so we drove to Darling Harbour, and I was under the impression, because my only experience of doing a film clip was the Get Ready to Wiggle film clip, which was, as you said earlier, was a closed set at the ABC. I was under the impression that this would be the same sort of thing, that it would be a closed set. And he didn't tell me anything about a concert. He only mentioned that it was a film clip for Dorothy the Dinosaur. He never told me that it was going to be in front of an audience, let alone, hundreds of children, and that the entire concert was going to be filmed.
Yeah, because the concert took place, because the concert happened during, it was a part of an ABC for Kids kind of festival.
Right.
So I think it was just one of many acts, but yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And we get to Darling Harbour, and I see the audience and everything, and I look at Anthony, and he just sort of, has this look on his face, like I don't know. But anyway, not only had he not told me that I was going to be part of a full-length concert, which was like 20 minutes or something, or what songs I had to know or sing, he didn't even tell Jeremy, he didn't tell management, he didn't tell any of the other Wiggles that I was going to be there. And when they looked at me and I looked at them, it was like, deer in the headlight type thing, what's going on, sort of thing. And I think if you have a copy of Greg's autobiography from 2011, he actually mentions in the chapter on me that I fronted up for the Dorothy the Dinosaur film clip, and none of them knew. And in his autobiography, Greg questions whether I might have had mixed feelings about coming back and I wanted to come back. No, not at all. I only came back to do the film clip because Anthony asked me to.
And can I just suggest, Philip, that I think, like, because it can be really confusing, because it's like, why would Anthony only ask you to come back for that one particular clip? And I reckon my theory would be is because they are promoting the album, and I don't know if it was kind of like a contract thing, or whether or not they wanted to see the 5-piece band or not. Like whether he showed up or not, I have a feeling that because he knew that the concert was going to be filmed, that they would want the band like as a 5-piece to promote the album.
Yeah, see, I don't know that, because nothing was articulated to me. So I
think that the communication must have been bad there.
That's a possibility. But then when you consider as well that Jeremy didn't know I was going to be there, and he was the manager of the group, and Murray and Greg and Jeff didn't know I was going to be there as well. You know, and the best I could do during the entire show was just copy Murray and Greg. I had no idea what the next song was going to be or anything. I had no idea what movements to do, and I just copied Murray and Greg. And there was one stage when I think we did Johnny Works with One Hammer, and I was copying them, and I'd gotten my hammer strikes wrong or something. And I'm pretty sure it was Murray who edged up to me and sort of said, "What are you going to do now?" sort of thing, something like that. But yeah, I get your point about maybe that's what they expected because it was a 5-piece band. But you know, from August through to March, people who were attending Wiggles concerts only ever saw 4 members. And again, management and the other members of the Wiggles weren't told that I was going to be there. It was as much a shock to them that I was there as it was a shock to me that I was doing this show all of a sudden.
And it's like if you watch the video clip, because we've all seen anyone who had the VHS.
I'm as awkward as anything.
It's like if anyone who watched the VHS, because I remember watching the VHS tape, ABC for Kids Volume Hits 2, which and including the first one, which had Get Ready to Wiggle. But you watch the second one, and the song was the last one on the video. And obviously because the Wiggles were becoming more popular by the years, and it's like when you watch it, I mean, even as a kid, I didn't know who that was. Like, because I remember watching the Wiggles as a 4-piece band, and then I remember being confused. I'm not going to lie, Philip, just being confused about who the one on the far right was. He was just standing there in the shirt, and he was just like nodding up and down. I was like, who is that?
Yo, hey, I didn't even know who I was. But, you know, So it was a really uncomfortable experience for me. But like even more than that, it was a really odd experience because why could not Anthony have told me that, you know, we're doing a concert? You know what I mean? It was just
yeah. You mentioned Johnny Works with One Hammer. That's one other thing about the debut album. I noticed there's a lot of nursery rhymes involved, like Lavender's blue, and also what's the other one?
A Froggy Would a Woo and Go and all that.
Yeah, all of those sort of songs. There's a lot of
This Old Man.
rhymes. This old man, he played one. He
and Star Lullaby, actually.
Good song, that one.
They all came out of Rosemary Hall's teaching portfolio.
Yeah, okay.
They're everything that Rosemary taught Anthony.
I wondered where they got that, you know, educational nursery rhyme, early childhood element. So that all came from Rosemary.
Came from Rosemary Hall. Yeah, of course.
So after the so now the video has been filmed, and then they pretty much. So what happened after? They just didn't talk to you after that. It was like, hello, goodbye.
No. No, the hello goodbye came in about June, I think. It was like a couple of months later. What happened? I started writing for Here Comes a Song. And that was to the next day. I can't remember what interactions I had with Anthony from the time we filmed Dorothy the Dinosaur. That was in March of 1992. Through to late May, early June. I can't remember how many interactions I had with Anthony. There were phone calls. I know that. He used to phone me quite a lot, actually. When things were fine with him, he would phone me twice a day, actually. He'd phone me early in the morning and then he'd phone me late at night. But I had written a lot of things, poetry and music, for Here Comes a Song. only Anthony and actually his mother Mari had heard some of it. And Anthony loved what I'd done. I'd played it to him over the phone. I'd even written a children's pantomime called Bebop. And Anthony, the next time I saw Anthony, he had invited me to attend a Neil Diamond concert at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, which was in around about, I'm going to say the 8th of May, 8th or 9th of May in 1992. And at that concert there was Anthony, of course, there was John Field, his brother. Greg was there, Greg Page, and Anthony's parents, John and Mari. And John and Mari sat in a different part of the entertainment centre to where I was sitting with Anthony and Greg and Anthony's brother. And those moments, you know, when you can talk during concert, we were talking about Here Comes a Song. And I was, I'm pretty sure it was the 8th of May. I was due to fly out to the States on the 11th of May to play for the Liberace celebrations again in Las Vegas. And I was only going to be away for 3 weeks. And it was agreed that on my return 3 weeks later, I'd go into tracking station and record everything I'd written for Here Comes a Song. So at the Neil Diamond concert, when we could talk without interrupting anything, you know, we were talking about me recording what I'd written for Here Comes a Song.
Right.
So that was all set. That was, you know, in my mind. And I left for the States on the 11th of May and did my thing over there in Las Vegas, went to Palm Springs. And then I came back 3 weeks later. I was only away for the 3 weeks. And when I came back, I couldn't get in touch with anybody. No one would return my calls. And eventually Anthony had phoned me to tell me that the album, that Here Comes a Song, had been recorded without me and I wasn't needed anymore, which was kind of, you know, like 3 weeks prior to that, we were discussing what I would be doing when I got back. And curiously, and I'm pretty sure, again, in Greg's autobiography, he mentions in recording Here Comes a Song that they had a 3-week deadline. I was not made aware of any 3-week deadline, and it seems odd to me that that period of time, 3 weeks, was the exact 3 weeks that I was away. You know, and that was the last I saw of any of them in person. I've never seen any of them since, actually.
That's crazy. Well, I think it can also be, I mean, the problem is there's so many different stories about this too, Philip, and it's really hard to and it's not us saying that we don't believe you. I mean, it's terrible that what's happened as well, because I think the communication was severely misused in that scenario, especially if the scenario was a 3-week deadline and the fact that no one had told you about it. And it's just, I don't think
there was a 3-week deadline as such, but you know, it's just really odd that, like, you know, 2 or 3 days before I'm due to fly out to the States, we're actually discussing what I would be doing when I get back. And actually, I think on my website, there's a section called, it's a tribute section where I've written a tribute to people, and there's a tribute there for Liberace, and I'm pretty sure this is going back, I don't know how many years ago I wrote it, but like in my tribute to Liberace, I quote in my diary. I was keeping a diary while I was on the plane going over, you know, just jotting down things. And I quote my diary in that section on my website, and I mention that when I was coming back, I'd be recording for the Wiggles. Yeah, I mentioned it in my diary, 1992. So yeah, that's at my website somewhere. Yeah, so it was just, you know, it was just all, I think, I suppose Anthony's not all that good a communicator when he does.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been some people talking about it in the community recently, and we're not going to assume everything, but we believe because most of us in the community being on the spectrum ADHD, most of us believe that the patterns kind of align to potentially undiagnosed ADHD. Now, we're not saying this is the case. We're not saying that this is 100% true, but it's just in terms of like, because with some of the decisions Anthony might, because it might have been a case of like, it's like if you say something and then you forget about it the next day, and we're not saying this is 100% of the case, but you know, it can be really frustrating to if it's hard to describe it, because you know everyone lives their life differently, and everyone's got, you know, different ways of handling stuff. But you know, if this has just been a recurring thing since I don't know how long, but I think sometimes the problem is.
I mean, from like, I don't, like I said, I don't really follow them. I don't immerse myself in.
Yeah.
I mean, the recent controversy that I'm aware of with, what's his name? Luke O'Neill? Is it
Luke O'Neill? Yeah, the lawsuit recently where he's suing the Wiggles, or he's taking them to court under claims that they emotional. I don't know if it was that they caused emotional abuse to him or something like that.
I would say that I was beginning to feel kind of emotionally abused by Anthony, which is why I stepped back when I said I wasn't comfortable in his presence.
Right. Okay.
Yes, I think what I mean, I don't know the details of the CEO thing. I've only, you know, just briefly read a couple of things.
Yeah. Well, I even said to the I even commented about it in the Wiggles community, because a lot of people were talking about it, and I pretty much said, look, we don't know the full story. I feel like this is something that shouldn't be, you know, displayed publicly, because if we don't know the whole details, then I don't think we really should be putting ourselves in the position to say, oh, I totally agree with this side or this side, because then it divides us, and I think that's the last thing the Wiggles want.
I think like if you go back to, was it 2012 with the issue with Sam Moran?
Yes, 2012. So that was, well, I'm sure we'll get to that as well. Yeah, so 2012.
Yeah, but there's a pattern. There seems to be a pattern there.
Yeah, there is.
A pattern of behavior. You know, of what you label that, I don't know. But I think I don't think my experiences are all that, or Sam's experiences are all that different to mine. I think he probably, you know.
So obviously, when you finished up with the group, they went in their own sort of, you know, on their own merry way, and they became, you know, very, very famous, as we know, and shot to stardom overseas. How did that make you feel personally? Did you have any like angst like with that?
I didn't really think about it. I found, and even to this day, and I will see comments every now and then where people will say, "Oh, I bet he's really, you know, upset that he didn't stay with, you know, didn't make all the money and whatever sort of thing."
Yeah.
I don't think that way. I've never thought that way. And I had my own work to do. And what I found across the years was the majority of people would project onto me how they would react in a similar situation. I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. In fact, had I stayed with the Wiggles, I would probably ended up feeling like I'd missed out on something, which would have been the truth of who I am as a musician. I wouldn't have survived with the Wiggles. Like, I probably, had I stayed with them 3 years into it, I would have been gone anyway, because I just would not have survived it. It's not what I'm about in music. And I never took up music, you know, even though I believe music chose me. I never took it up to become famous. I never took it up to make money from it. It is such a blessing in my life, and in such an innate part of my creativity, that I don't believe I should be owed anything for what I do in music. I don't think I should be owed anything for the gift God gave me. And I'm going to say right now, it's an enormous gift. I know my capabilities. I don't pat myself on the back. I don't, I don't hold myself and say I can do this, but I know what I can do. And no one owes me anything for it. In fact, often when I'm commissioned to write a work, I will refuse the payment and say, no, I'll just do it, and I'll do it. As soon as money comes into the equation of my creativity, it does something to me, and I can't quite fulfill any task to the best of my ability once there's a dollar sign attached to it.
Yeah.
Because everything I do, for me, as corny as it might sound to some people, everything I do to me is an expression of love. And at the end of my life, the legacy I leave, both with my music and whatever words I write, I hope they complement each other, and I hope all that anybody experiences from it is something that is uplifting and something born of love. If I haven't done that, then I haven't succeeded.
Yeah,
and
I
where,
agree.
you know what, anyone can make money, but only I can make my music. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. So to anybody who might hear this, or anybody in the past who has said, I bet he's bitter and twisted, that he's missed out on all that, I haven't missed out on anything. My life has been an absolute blessing. And even the things that have been difficult in my life, the hardships I've faced, the illnesses, they're all a blessing. It's all a question of how you accept them and the attitude you take. So I've had a fantastic life, and I'm so blessed, So yeah, that's it. That's got nothing to do with me missing out on anything.
Philip, that is a wonderful way to put it. And also the thing you said about not wanting to do, I mean, I think that's the ones who truly succeed in life, not just in music, in entertainment or anything, but the ones who truly succeed in life are the ones who love what they do. Like if they're not doing it for the money or anything like that, because you mentioned earlier, you spend most of your time today performing in hospitals, especially for patients who are at the end of their life. I mean, if that is not one of the best signs of humanity, I don't even know what is.
Do you know what? Like, if I look at mine, I don't even feel comfortable calling it a career. I don't know what a career is. And it's not a hobby. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
And I can't not do it because it's me. But out of everything I've done in music, and I'm not going to say achieved, but out of everything I've done in music, including my classical studies, my composing, even the books I've written, and Liberace and everything, none of it comes close to what I experienced playing for these patients in palliative care. What I'm doing now eclipses everything, and to the point where it's changed my entire attitude about what music making is all about. To the point where it's even changed how I play the piano. Because now I'm in a situation where I'm playing music as a prayer to people whose spirit is leaving their body, right? They're disembodying. So I consciously make an effort to disembody the sound from the piano so that it meets them in spirit when they leave this world. And I've had, the second time I ever played in the palliative care center, I had one family come up to me, and their loved one had passed away. And they said how appreciative they were of the fact that I was playing piano while he passed away. And I had another Muslim family who donated $100 to the center because of my playing, and they said that my playing was a gateway to heaven. And I make a conscious effort of really exploring sound as something that serves as a balm to anybody who is going through anything. It's changed my entire outlook on music making and what I've achieved in my life. This what I'm doing now. I'm 67. I wish I had another 67 years ahead of me to continue doing it. I was knocked up. I was hit by a car a year ago. Well, actually, I hit the car. Believe it or not, I ran into it. Which is another story. It was by accident. And yeah, because I was in the hospital. I was going to the hospital actually to play for the patients, and I saw my bus on the other side of the road, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to get the bus. I can't be late for this. And I saw a car coming, and I'm thinking, no, this car keeps going at that speed. I can clear it. So I dashed out, and when the driver of the car saw me, he slowed down. So I ran into the car, and I was airborne, and my shoe flew off, and I sustained 3 broken ribs. And he got out and, said, you all right? And I said, yeah, I'm fine, and I could hardly breathe. But it was my fault. So I told him to go, just forget about me, I'll be fine. And I hobbled my way to my neighbor's place. And I said, take me to the hospital. I've just been hit by a car, sort of thing, I'm in the hospital bed, and I'm hearing the nurses say to each other, he ran into a car. and like, he what? He ran into, like, I tried to commit suicide or something. But no. I was more concerned that day that I was not able to play for those patients because I'd broken 3 ribs. That was a Saturday morning. I was back at the palliative care center on the Monday playing for them in pain. But what I found, to be fair, it's an awful pain. It's a broken rib is like a notoriously awful or horrible pain. But what I found the most comfortable thing I could do was sit up straight and play the piano. That was the only time I didn't feel pain. So, there's nothing that stops me from doing this now for these people. And I'm so passionate about it. I just can't tell you,
I could say that that's you're a true passionate musician. And I can tell that you do it for the right reasons just from hearing that story. And can I be honest? I had no. You said it was a year ago, right? I had no idea.
Yeah, it was August, end of August last year. Yeah, it was just here outside my house. Yeah, I was airborne. It was amazing. Like, I was just my shoe flew off and I was airborne. But like, I didn't know I had 3 broken ribs. I just had this awful feeling in my side, and I just hobbled after the driver. I sort of shooed him off and said, "Go away, I'm fine. Don't worry about me."
Look,
I went to my neighbor.
Yeah, look, we're very sorry to hear you had the crash. It's good to know that you're doing okay now, and it's great to hear you and see you back up on your feet. Now. So,
yeah, but I tell you what though, this car was only going slow. I would hate to be hit by a car going at normal speed. It's an awful experience, But yeah, so I can chalk that up to my, I've been hit by a car. No, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, no, this job, this working for the hospital for these patients, and I got Volunteer of the Year actually this year, which was really a great honor for me. But I love it.
What hospital again is it? Sorry,
I'm Concord Repatriation Hospital. It's actually
just local. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually part of the same grounds that the Dame Edith Walker estate is on. That Darby mentioned that we went to, where the Wiggles. What's the school there, Darby?
It's called Mrs. Bingle. Yeah, so
Bingle. Okay.
many of our Wiggly friends in the Wiggles fandom would know from the Wiggles movie back in the 1990s. Whatever it was.
Yeah, actually, speaking of that, this might sound like a bit of a personal question for myself, but have you seen the fanned-up production that we did of the Wiggles movie or not?
The what?
We did like a about 3 years ago now. We in honor of the film's 25th anniversary, I got a bunch of dozens of the community together to make a fan-dub production of the Wiggles movie, where we
like
just
pretty much redub version. Yeah,
fan-made version. We redub the voices and the songs. Yeah.
No, I didn't see it. You've got something going. What's that going across the page now? No, I didn't. I haven't seen it. No. Have you got a clip of it you can send me?
Yeah, we it's on YouTube right now. It's actually on my YouTube channel. We re-uploaded it as shorts because YouTube, obviously because of Wiggles, they pretty much blocked no, I don't know if it was the Wiggles exactly, but it was the ABC. They pretty much blocked anyone who uploaded full videos of like any of the Wiggles past videos. They didn't do all of them, but they pretty much did everything like the Wiggles movie. Yeah. And I just re-uploaded them as shorts each, and I had to make sure it was all under a minute so then it didn't get blocked. So there was a lot of parts that I had to do. So and I did it as I'm one of those hype up content creators. So I uploaded one part every day, so it's kind of like I've got more people coming back to watch the rest or to go to my Patreon page because I uploaded the full fan dubs there. So it's just kind of like a learning less of trying to become a legitimate content creator. But at the same time, I redubbed the entire movie, and it took me about I'd say about just over a year, just because I was busy with my other personal.
Okay. I had a quick look at your YouTube channel this afternoon, actually, just before we came on here. But I didn't click on.
But the Wiggles movie, when I met Philip for the first time, that was actually the first time I went to the Dame Edith's estate, and of course that's where they filmed most of I think just about all the scenes for the Wiggles movie, and going to Mrs. Bingle's house where they did the open air performance, the Wiggles, can you find fingers, and Philip was laughing his head off.
That was funny. Well, I was laughing, well, not at you, but like you were funny. You were kind of like hyped up.
Oh wow, this was from that scene, and this was from this scene, and this.
And I was laughing because he was so hyped up, and I had no idea what he was being hyped up
what the whole hype was. But yeah, that's iconic filming location. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt my 2-year-old self getting like excited all over again, just being there. It was just crazy. It was a lot smaller than I felt because as a kid it looked so much bigger. It wasn't actually. I don't know. That's probably how they filmed the movie, but yeah, it was.
No. I think things when you're little do look much bigger. Like
they do.
When we were talking about Liberace earlier in 1971, when my mother took me to hear him play at the Capitol Theatre, the foyer of the Capitol Theatre back then, when I was a little kid, was huge and like just this incredible, beautiful thing. And probably about 10 years ago, I went there to see a production, and all of a sudden it looked really small. It looked so much smaller than what I remember it. So it has to do with your size.
It's crazy because even as a kid, I'd love to go back to that part of my life where everything felt so grand. Because it's like when you look at it now, it doesn't feel as big as it used to when you were a kid. And then I agree, when you're a kid, everything looks grand and just big and amazing, and it's
Life has a way of leveling you out.
Life has a way of and it's like And like Anthony, because he was in the documentary, he was talking about how kids have a different perspective of like what they're interested in. Like, for example, that he brought a gift in and they were interested in the box instead of the gift. And it's like something, and I agree, like sometimes it can be hard to understand what kids like because and I think that's why the Wiggles became so successful, is because they really took the time to listen and understand children and do it from their perspective.
I think children have a greater sense of. Well, I mean, we were all children once, but like, so we can actually, we should all be able to speak and experience things from the child's perspective since we were children. There's nothing, but like, children, as did we, have. They see the sense of wonder in something much more readily, I think, than we do as we get older. I mean, everything has a sense of wonder about it, I mean, if you give a child a shiny apple, they look at this shiny red ball, We look at it, it's a piece of fruit. So I think the sense of wonderment within a child's perception is more acute, something much more to marvel at. But we've all had it, we've all been children. I sometimes wonder why we lose it. I don't think I've lost it, actually. I sort of have kept a child's. I've kind of kept a child's heart. When I was it to you, I said earlier that I've turned 10 times. That's how I live my life, like a 6-year-old has turned 10.
I think that's a lot. I think that's why a lot of us in the community, I mean, even those on the spectrum and those who have ADHD, OCD, all that kind of stuff, it's not that we can't enjoy the simple things that make us adults. I think we just like coming back to this stuff, particularly things that we grew up with. Like I would find myself more drawn to shows that I watched in like the early 2000s, 90s than I would now, because I would feel like that was a part of my life where I experienced, like you said, wonder, and I want to experience that wonder again.
Like that TV show, The Wonder Years, But you mentioned children on the spectrum. Like since I've been been taken to heart by a lot of the Wiggles community at Instagram, especially, you know, and communicate with everybody. And there's a lot of people who are on the spectrum. I think it's a blessing.
Oh yeah, I think, and how does it make you feel too? How does it make you feel knowing that new generations?
I've not engaged with one person who is on the spectrum who doesn't have a touch of magic about them that I wished I had. Honestly, like it's you know, what I call autism artism.
Autism, that's great. That's a great way to put it. I love it.
There's nothing wrong with anyone who's on the spectrum. I think the people who aren't on the spectrum need to get on it. You know, it's honestly, the people I've met, like through Jake's Happy Nostalgia, Jake and everybody I've met who's on the spectrum, are they not aware of the magic that they've got?
I think it's amazing. I think what I like about them, and particularly their show, is that like they've got like a certain passion to bring like a certain type of nostalgia back when most of us as adults completely forget about it. So it's like the moment they bring them on, it's like if they're talking to someone who worked on Sesame Street in the 70s, anyone who's watching that as a 50-year-old is going to have like a toddler memory of having watched the show and listened to the songs and the show and the people on it. And it's like, that's the magic of, and that's why I love doing like the whole sole purpose for me, Philip, as a content creator on my channel is to bring nostalgia to people who grew up in like the 80s. It's like I always aim for not just like the millennial stuff. I always go a little bit further too. So like I'll go into the 70s where there's Play School, and then sometimes I'll even go into the 50s. I'll go into the 50s where they even had like all the Christmas songs, and it's like, and it feels very nostalgic for so many people. And then and I think the most rewarding thing is when you get comments like, I grew up as a 5-year-old in the 80s. This reminds me of my mum who used to play this all the time. And it's like that is so, like, people don't understand, like, no amount of monetization or money from YouTube or Patreon could even come close to comments like that make you feel these emotions like, wow, I just did something for the community that means so much.
I agree with you totally. And the thing that I sense about people who are on the spectrum is that they've just kept their childhood with them. Creativity has a child's heart anyway, and I love engaging with people on the spectrum. It's just really such a rewarding experience.
And I
you know, for sure.
But I think what you say about nostalgia and everything, that's all very true, because our lives are made up of memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of shows, for those just joining us, this is the Joey Wiggle Experience. We've been going for a whopping 2 hours and 30 minutes, so thanks for sticking with us.
The longest by far. Yeah, the longest we've done by far.
Exactly, Joey. We're talking to the original fifth Wiggle and an all-round great bloke, Phillip Wilcher. Phillip,
thank you.
It's my pleasure. What were we saying? Back to what we were saying.
We were talking about nostalgia and things. You know what I've been watching lately? I found, like, through NFSA, what's it, the National Film and Sound Archive, clips on YouTube of, like, Sydney in the 1970s, and I sort of look at that and thinking, I was there then, and it's, as you say, the feeling of nostalgia that comes through. It's an absolute vibration. It's something very real, and you really do feel it. I like to think that it's all still happening in another dimension somewhere.
I think I've watched some of those clips on YouTube because I'm a bit of a circus fan. So I love going onto YouTube and the National Film and Sound Archive. They've got a lot of clips of, Ashton Circus and all of the old traditional circuses from back in the day that used to, tour the country and set up. It's just so fascinating watching the circus pull up on the train and, bits and pieces like that.
Ashton, was that Tommy Hanlon?
No, Tommy Hanlon Jr., he was at Silver's Circus.
Silver's Circus,
Yeah. Bit of a disclaimer, everyone, I'm Australia's biggest circus fan, so I absolutely love going to the circus.
Along with Christmas fan and Wicked fan.
Yes, and musical theatre and carols by candlelight. And
yeah.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
Good work.
Funny.
That's funny. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, what
But
else
I
is that?
think nostalgia for me is probably, because I'm a lot older than you guys. So yeah.
And yeah, you would and obviously because you've lived a longer experience than us too, like having seen some of the best artists of your time, like even Liberace, like that itself is like, I don't know how many people today, like whoever they're seeing, is going to come close to the kind of artist that Liberace was.
I saw Michael Jackson too.
Michael, wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
When was that?
It was around 1980s. It was either 1987 or 1989, and he performed at Parramatta, here in Sydney, Parramatta Park Stadium kind of thing. And it was.
You saw him during his peak. That's great. That's really good.
And it was an amazing experience. He shot up, like his arrival on stage was through the stage. He like shot up, and then just stood there with his hands on his hip and looked to the side, and everybody just sort of. He just kept that pose for like 5 minutes, and people were just hyperventilating and screaming and carrying on.
Oh.
And the one thing I can't reconcile with him is, like, in interviews he comes across as such a fragile person. And
I think it's believed that he was insecure too as a person, because there was a lot of things that like.
But like his whole demeanor in interviews and his voice, he's so fragile, and But on stage, he's this enormous force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely,
the energy that you felt coming from him during a performance, and it was the same with Liberace, even though they're totally different genres. It's the energy they impart from the stage that just hits you like a ton of bricks.
The only thing I feel bad for is the backup dancers. Like, if you're on stage with him, you'd be invisible, because it's like he's shown so bright compared to everyone who was performing at the time. It's like it's just crazy. Like you watch him perform, and the amount of energy he had, it's just unbelievable.
There's a musical on at the moment in Melbourne called MJ the Musical, and it's about Michael Jackson. Another interesting thing, going back to Jamie Redfern, we were talking at the top of the show, when I was doing singing lessons with Jim Redfern, in one of my first lessons, he told me the story of Michael Jackson and Jamie Redfern going bowling together in the bowling arcade, and I just found that so cool. The guy I'm doing singing lessons with, went bowling with Michael Jackson. That's just super cool.
I think he probably met a lot of people because of Liberace.
Oh yeah, he would have. Like because Liberace personally invited him. I don't know if he did that before for anyone else, but for him to do that with Jamie Redfern, it's incredible how, like, I don't know about you, but it's amazing to see that, like, someone like Jamie Redfern get invited by Liberace, but then also I can understand why. I was going to say I'm surprised his career didn't really, like, as an adult, didn't go in the direction. Jamie Redfern's.
I wondered if maybe there was some sort of thing.
I think it might have been a contract thing. Yeah.
Well, I wondered if maybe something had happened to his voice along the way. I don't know. But Liberace was responsible for launching many people's careers. I mean, Barbra Streisand, he discovered her.
Oh, really?
And there was a group. Wow. There was a group of performers as well. I think they're called, from memory, the Magic People Players. And they are special needs kids. This is going back years now, so they'd be growing up, of course. They were special needs kids, and they would use puppets and everything. And they had created a Liberace puppet for their show, and Liberace learnt about it. And he attended one of their performances. Liberace then booked them to appear with him. So Liberace launched their career into being something much more than what it was, he really sort of launched a lot of people's careers, because back in the day, in the 1950s and 60s especially, he was an enormous influence. You know. Mm.
Not on everyone. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You should probably learn more. Honestly, learn more about. I should learn more about Liberace because there's something I've never heard that much about him until now.
Well, yeah, I suppose he's probably. I might be an acquired taste for people, but like I don't think his legacy has survived as he'd wished it would have. But he's certainly had an impact on the world of entertainment like no one else really. Because he was he was one of a kind when no one was really daring to be any different. Than what
maybe Elvis. I mean, if you look at Elvis in the 50s, I mean, yeah.
But like I said, when Elvis first arrived in Vegas, he sought out Liberace to get advice from him. And there's a famous photograph of them where they swap jackets, and Elvis Presley's wearing one of Liberace's beaded jackets, and Liberace's holding Elvis's guitar in one of his striped jackets or something. I can't remember. But amazing. But there's so many like amazing people the world over that have such an impact on other people's lives.
Yeah, and another thing about Jamie Redfern, which I'm sure a lot of Wiggles fans out there would know, he actually collaborated with the Wiggles during the Sam era on the Hop Poppin' Popcorn track.
I knew that. That. Yeah, look, there's Sam in the photo there.
There's the great Sam Moran.
He is great. He's I've had some interactions with him over the last couple of years, and he's an absolute gentleman. He's and he's such a good musician. My goodness,
Absolutely. Now, just on Sam, we all know there was, a bit of controversy in 2012. I'd love to get your take, Philip, on the departure of Sam.
I don't know the details of it. The first time I was ever made aware of it was when someone told me about the interview on YouTube with Richard Wilkins.
That's so uncomfortable to watch.
Yes,
it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't think Sam was treated terribly well. But
who knows what happened? Yeah,
I don't know the finer details. But my interactions with Sam over the last couple of years, and I haven't really sort of had much to do with him lately. He's a top bloke. Like, he's just such a good fellow, and he really knows his craft. And the last album he did, what all the Fields or something? What's it called?
Let me have a look. The latest one.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, it was called.
And I think he got signed by Republic Records, which they work with some of the best artists in America.
And there was a clip circulating online of Sam Moran in
New York Times
City,
Square.
And he had himself up on the big billboards in Times Square.
That's
and
right.
It was all happening for the great man.
I listened to some of that album. Amazing. Like, my gosh, some of the songs, they were just beautifully crafted. Really.
There was one
he's
song,
an amazing singer. Like, vocally, he's an incredible singer. And I think, people, it's like, look, for me, I kind of outgrew the Wiggles just as Sam came in, but at the same time, I appreciate his talent and also the fact that he also helped keep the group going as well. I think it's people don't. I think I think it's important to acknowledge that they all could have stopped after Greg left the group initially, but it's like he helped keep them going, which I think
yes should
absolutely be at least acknowledged and appreciated.
Absolutely, he was he was a saving grace to them. But the film the film clip of him, I don't know what the Christmas carol is that he's singing, but the Carols by Candlelight or something on YouTube.
Our Holy Night, yeah.
Oh yes,
amazing.
Now that was at Carols in the Domain up in your neck of the woods, Philip, up at in Sydney in the Domain Gardens there. Yeah, I had seen that performance. That's a really rousing rendition. Yeah,
sure. It's just such a beautiful performance.
It is.
So all the respect in the world to Sam.
And he's also collaborated with people like Marusha and Andre Rieu and all sorts of people.
Yeah, he's sort of taken a back seat from it all now, though, hasn't he? Was it you who told me that he's at Macquarie University lecturing or something?
Yeah, something along those lines. I'm not too sure what he's up to these days, but yeah, Sam is he's top bloke, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get some more music from him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, yeah. But if he is teaching or doing something like that, anyone would benefit from his knowledge, because yeah, no, got a lot of time for Sam. I wonder if we'll ever meet one day. I sort of don't know. But anyway. Oh, look, there I am. No, oh, that's at the park just down the road here from where I live. Oh, Cyndi Lauper has performed in that park, by the way.
Oh wow, Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, she was here. It was one of the times when she was here, and it was one of the early morning sort of sunrise TV shows or something, and they had her perform at the park here. I don't know why they chose this park, but yeah, I didn't go to see it, but I could hear her singing, from where I live. So because it's just a couple of blocks down the road here. But yeah, that's on YouTube actually. If you look up Cyndi Lauper performing at Concord or something, you'll find it. Yeah. Mm.
That's incredible. And I was gonna say, so when you look at the Wiggles now in their current state, in
their current state.
I say in their current state. No, sorry. I mean, not the lawsuit. I'm not talking about that. I meant like the current lineup, the 8-piece.
Yeah, that just sounded funny in their current state. Like,
oh no.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know much about But anyway, yeah. Look, there they are. There's 8 of them. Yes, there are.
Yeah, there are 8 of them now. Yeah.
Okay, jelly beans. Hey, start up a children's group called the Jelly Beans. Maybe it's already been done. I don't know.
It's funny because they used to have, and you said you were talking about the big red car going on stage. Now they've got the big red ute because it's just they don't have enough room in the old big red car.
Oh, really?
And even if they had a big red car, like getting it, in and around the arena and on the stage with 8 of them in there, it would be a bit of a challenging feat.
Yeah.
And also, have you seen the photo of the 8 of them in the car? It's so funny because the car's so wide. It's so wide and it's so hilarious. And I even said to Darby, I don't know if it was Darby, but I said, like, imagine now singing the song Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car. That's going to go for like 10 minutes now because you have to go through every one of them.
Oh my lord, look at that. Oh, what is that at the Hot Potato?
That was the Hot Potato premiere. Yeah. Can't see Sam there, but yeah.
He was there though.
No, he was there. No, he was at the premiere. Yeah. I think he met Murray, not Anthony. Oh my god, that would be something else.
But I don't think Sam took part in any of the official photo opportunities with the the lineup of the group. But yeah, Sam was at the premiere of Hot Potato, and I think a couple of days later he actually appeared on one of the morning shows, and he gave his opinion on the film as well.
Yeah, who's the lady next to Lockie?
That is
Evie.
Evie. That's.
Okay, and that's Anthony's daughter next to her.
So you've got Evie, right. Lucia. There's Jeff, Greg, Anthony, Murray. That's Sahai, the Yellow Wiggle.
Yeah.
John,
she's an amazing dancer.
Big strong John. Ooh, we're getting strong. Simon, he's a pretty good opera singer as well. He's toured the world, done Phantom of the Opera. He's really good. You've got Katarina and also Paul Paddock, who played Captain. Who still plays Captain?
That's right. He was Captain Feathersword, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For about 30 years now, nearly.
Yeah. So it's a great idea having a sword having a feather as a sword. That's great.
Yeah, well, I think that was the whole point of when Anthony came up, because when they came up with the characters, Captain, he said that at a party they'd always have a was it a dinosaur and a pirate? So, and the pirate was and that's how he got inspired for Captain Feathersword, and then instead of a sword, because obviously imagine Captain Sword.
No, it's a brilliant idea to have
a feather sword, so it tickles people. Yeah. Brilliant.
And feather sword is such a great word,
It is.
Yeah.
Love it. So wow, we've actually talked. This is probably the longest we've. It feels like an hour. I'm not going to lie. It feels like an hour that we've been talking, but we've really broke down a lot of stories. It's very interesting to hear what you've been doing before the Wiggles and after the Wiggles. So actually, I don't think we've spoken enough about what you've done after the Wiggles. So after you left, you went on to have a career in classical music. So tell us what that's been like.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know what it means to have a career. All I did was just knuckle down and write whatever music I thought I had to write. And lots of CDs were recorded. I think almost every piece of music I've written has been recorded. And in saying that, it's all been recorded by other musicians, not by myself. And reputable musicians as well. And I think there are something like 13 CDs now of my works, but they're not available in, it's just sort of online kind of stuff. I don't think people make CDs nowadays, do they? But anyway, so yeah, I knuckled down and just wrote and honed in on my craft and tried to refine it. Then when my father became more frail, I became his carer, and I was my dad's carer, full-time carer for 12 years. And then when dementia kind of crept up on him, I really had to give everything away because I couldn't work at music and still listen to what he was doing throughout the house. I had to give him my full attention. So I looked after Dad for 12 years, and then he passed away 3 years ago, and that's how I came to do the volunteer work at the hospital in memory of him. So that took up a lot of my time, but I kept a finger on the pulse of my creativity through writing with words rather than music, because I could write words and still do what Dad was doing doing about the house while I was doing my own stuff as well. So yeah, it's just I mean, there hasn't been any thought of becoming famous or rich or anything. Any name I've made for myself, I owe as much to the people who have performed my music and recorded it, because without those people who did it and gave their name to it, and some really reputable musicians, then my music wouldn't be known, because for music to exist, it has to be heard. And I've just recently been contacted by a pianist in the UK who focuses on works written for the left hand alone, and she's going to be playing some of my works in England next year at Sir Edward Heath's house, the former Prime Minister of England, and in Wales and everything. So I think one of the things that I don't know if proud is the right word, but one of the things that I'm glad about is that all of my music has been recorded and performed by other people, not by myself. I just wrote it, and the fact that other people have thought it good enough to lend their name to it has meant the world to me. It's a form of validation that means a lot to me. So I've been doubly blessed in that sense, that I've been able to create the music that I create, and then other people think it's worthy enough that they take it up and perform it. So yeah, that's.
There's no doubt lots of young people tuning into this show today, and if you could give out any advice to maybe a young aspiring musician or someone looking at getting into the music industry or the creative arts in general, what advice would you give? What would you say to people?
Just be true to yourself. If you have a gift, it's your responsibility to look after it and to protect it, to develop it. It's your responsibility to give of it to other people. It's also your responsibility to acknowledge God in the giving of that gift to other people. And in doing that, like I said earlier, just be true to yourself. That's the best I can give, because that's all I've ever done. There's been nothing about my life in music that has been premeditated or been a real conscious kind of like, oh, I'm going to make this, I'm going to be famous. There's been none of that with me. I've just been honest with what I've done. And I think, I mean, I can recognize that in the music industry, as well as in any walk of life, it can be ruthless. You may have to be ruthless to sort of get where you want, but I don't necessarily believe that, because I think you don't even have to have ego. So long as you love what you do, you're going to succeed, because love is everything. If anything, if you rely on ego to get where you want to get, you're not going to get there. it's all to do with love and what you give of yourself from a place of love to other people and to your art and to your talent, you know. Which is why Darby has to take up a course in conducting, isn't it, Joey?
Yeah, maybe, you never know, one day, but maybe.
Yeah. No, that's the best I can do. You know, that may not satisfy a lot of people as advice for them. But if you can't be true to yourself, who can you be true to? And your honesty shines through in whatever you do. I think especially in music, because it's such a subtle art form. And it's a very precise art form. It's more precise than words. Music can be very revealing. I think you can tell when a piece of music is authentic, where if it's being created from a heart of love as opposed to something that's just being, you know, mass produced.
And that brings me to another question, because we know in today's society there's artificial intelligence and all sorts of things, you know, dominating the world. I'd love to get your thoughts on AI and how that's, you know, taking over.
I'm worried about it, actually. From a creative stance, I think it could be the end of people's imaginations if they rely on it too much to create what they should be creating themselves. I don't know enough about it, really. I suppose it depends on how you use it, but I'm a little bit fearful of it. I sort of, my experience with it, which has been only slight, I had a conversation with ChatGPT. Yeah.
Yes, ChatGPT. In fact, I love ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT all the time.
Well, I wanted to see if it had a conscience. This is no surprise to you, is it? I mean, you'd sort of think, yeah, that's Philip. And I sort of, I got to the stage where I felt like I was actually talking to a person, and that began to worry me a little bit. And then I decided to put the idea to ChatGPT that it was a person and I was AI. And I wanted to have a conversation with it where it thought I was the artificial intelligence, and, you know, and that kind of, I don't know, almost felt like it did have a conscience. But I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the artificial side of it, basically. You know, although it's not entirely artificial, is it? Because it feeds off what people give it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, especially like for me, when I want to know something, I've really taken to ChatGPT, and you just ask it anything, absolutely anything, and it gets back to you within, you know, like a second with a 10-page, 25,000-page document with, you know, if you're doing work or whatever.
Yeah, that's different. Yes, I mean, if you're using it in an encyclopedic sort of sense, like a Wikipedia kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I think if you're using it, like, I've wondered if some of the pop songs that I've heard sometimes are actually created by a real songwriter, or if it's, you know, AI doing it. Because I had a friend on Facebook who was interested in writing songs, and classical musician. He sent me through a song lyric, and he just said, you know, what do you think of this? And I read it, and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. So I wrote back to him and said, my God, that's amazing. Did you write it? And he said, no, I wrote it. And I didn't know what AI was then. I had no idea. And I said, you know, what do you mean? And he explained it to me. And he said, give me a topic to write something on. And I said, okay, well, you know, write something about, you know, the morning sunlight sort of shining a ray of light through a drop of dew. And like within seconds, this magnificent sort of poem kind of thing came up that ChatGPT had written. That kind of bothers me, because I think that's a threat to creativity at an authentic level. And I think if people are going to rely on that to make a name for themselves as artists, then that's living a lie. As a thing, as a means by which to get information, yes. But as a means by which to create something as if you've created it, no, I'm worrisome about that. But then I don't know if that's what AI is exactly. That's only my perceptions of it as far as I've experienced it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Philip, we are just about out of time. Can you believe we've been talking for nearly almost 3 hours? Is this like one of the longest podcasts you've ever done?
Do you want to try for 3 days?
3 days. Oh my goodness.
3? No.
Joey, are you still with us, Joey? I think we've lost Joey, but that's all good. We're going to wrap up here.
Why did we lose Joey?
I don't know. We might have had some internet connection problems, and looks like Joey's dropped out of the stream. But just before we do wrap up, if you do have to pick one Wiggle song and one of your classical pieces to introduce yourself to someone new, which two would you choose?
Wiggle song. By the way, Joey, really nice chatting with you. We'll do it again.
I don't know what happened to Joey, but
no, I loved meeting you here. What, like one Wiggle song?
Yeah, one Wiggle song.
Well, it's not a song, but Mischief. You know, it's always Mischief.
Mischief the Monkey, bananas galore.
Classical piece? Okay, off the top of the head, it's a piece for cello and piano called The Maiden Voyage.
Maiden Voyage.
Yeah, well, and if you can imagine yourself being on a tall ship when you're listening to it, like, you know, on a lake or something, you know, then yeah, you're there with it. The Maiden Voyage, cello and piano.
Good one. Good one. Well, Philip, thank you so much for giving up your time today. It's been a pleasure for Joey and myself to have you on our Joey Wiggle Experience podcast, and we do trust, you enjoyed your time with us, and thanks so much for giving up the time. It's been a pleasure getting to speak to you and hear so many wonderful stories from your career over the years, and yeah, you've got a lot to tell. So thanks so much for coming on.
No, it's been a pleasure, Darby, and thank you for your friendship over the last couple of years, or however long it's been. You're a magical fellow, and Joey, if you're listening to this, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you, and please stay in touch. God bless you both.
Good on you, Philip. And everyone, that just about wraps up today's episode. Sorry, Joey couldn't do the closer. We're not too sure what happened to him in the end, but I'll just wrap it up for now. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back next week for another episode. Make sure to stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, keep up to date with all of our content. But until next time, keep on wiggling. Have a good day.
God bless.